too fast. Oh, oh, just like that. I see a dove in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. Now sit and watch me get this gold. Oh, I just want it all. I just want it all. I'm gon' bounce. I'm gon' bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. Said you want it all. I'm bounce back. Said you want it all, but you want it all. I can have it all. If you knock me down, I will feel the fall. I just got back up. I'm bounce back. I just want it all. I just want it all. I'll keep bouncing. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I keep coming back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back. I can't hold it back. Yeah, I'm bouncing back.
It is day 2 of the FNCS Europe Major 1 finals. There are 20 spots up for grabs for Europe at the Major 1 Summit LAN finals in Dusseldorf. So make sure you keep your eyes locked in because we're going to send some people to Germany today. Levin and Mini Miner, please join me because I think we're very excited to see who makes the cut, Levin.
Absolutely. I mean, we all want to be there at the LAN, right? If we could all teleport and time travel, whatever you want to do, we'd like to do that. But with how fun yesterday was to watch, I'm excited to see who steps up, who rises to the occasion, who continues their dominance, who actually decides day one wasn't our best day. Let's show what we can do here today.
Mini Miner, are you excited to see if anyone self-eliminates via full damage today?
That's the only thing I'm watching for, actually. That's all I really care about. But no, it's going to be great. We have a couple of different narratives today, which is different to what we've done for some online majors previously. It's not just about the win. It's not just about qualifying to globals as it was previously. There's almost more teams that are going to qualify through to a LAN now. It's going to be 20 teams that qualify through. So it makes a lot more narratives, a lot more storylines to follow today. And it makes it, I think, a lot more interesting.
It's going to be incredibly interesting, and I think all of our duos are waiting to see the direction of the battle bus today and which way those zones are going to pull. Because if we have a look at what it looked like yesterday, Levin, I think there are a few teams on social media who weren't happy.
Yeah, well, look, I wanted to highlight the positions of some of our top 5 players, right? Or top 5 duos. You have Pablo and Chino, obviously, who are sort of landing towards the east. Sires and Scary, who had a very surprisingly good day one, landing a bit further south. Then you have the likes of Thomas and Focus Mini, who were in 5th, and Sky and Scroll, obviously, our leading team on the day. They are obviously landing at Battlewood Boulevard. Now, let's look at where the zones pulled, because there was a lot of conversation online about, hey, we're expecting Sky and Scroll to do good. Hold on a minute, Pablo and Chino may be doing a bit better than we all expected them to do. I wonder why that is. And you look at the zones and you start to think, they had a bit of an easier day, you could argue.
Yeah, especially with this new surge, well, this makes it a lot easier to actually play your game when the zone does pull right where your drop spot is. In Pablo and Chino's case, that is exactly true. You can see exactly where they land just there at in the sort of middle of those three circles, and it's gonna make it a lot easier, right? Let's not discredit what they've done. They did an amazing job yesterday, but it does make it a lot easier. And the one game that they didn't do so great was that game 3 you can see up there in the top left of the screen. That was their bad game. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do today. But I think it almost highlights how good Sky and Scroll did yesterday as well, because they were a team that performed incredibly well. And if you look at where they were dropping, and of course Thomas and Focus, they are so far away from where these zones pull. So yes, it was great for Chino and Pablo. Yes, it was great for Sires and Scary, but I think it almost makes it greater for Sky and Scroll, almost amplifies their achievement.
I mean, you can't act like this isn't what we expected from Sky and Scroll. That was the one factor we all said was to their, positive. I mean, they are the consistent team. No matter what you put in front of them as far as zone, positioning, they always seem to find the right solution. And I think that is a large part of why, yes, they are our first place team. And it's why I feel confident saying I think they will continue to be our first place team with the rest of the game today, because now what happens if they do get a couple more zones, right? Like what happens when they get their easy games, quote unquote? I think these guys are in for another good day. They were really spectacular yesterday, Vinny.
Yeah, they really were. They were clutching up as duos. We had some solo clutches as well. They played their consistent game. And when I went back and watched a lot of their games from yesterday, in every single one of their games, they were staying so far back in the storm. They were staying in storm, sort of that 4th, 5th zone transition. And in every single game, they were just skipping all of that mid-game. They weren't getting involved in those mid-game fights. They weren't losing damage critically in those mid-game fights as well. They were staying so far back in the storm. So if we're watching them today, which I imagine we will be doing a lot, keep an eye out for them staying inside of the storm, because I think that's a key element to their success.
Mini Miner, should Pablo and Chino be a little bit worried about the zones not going their way, given that they did have that off game when it didn't yesterday?
Well, I mean, we expected a bit of a chaotic day for them, and I suppose they didn't bring that yesterday there. The way that they performed throughout the majors so far, it was a bit rocky. They had some good performances. They showed signs of life, and then it just wasn't necessarily that consistent. But yesterday, they actually had the exact same average placement as Sky and Scroll. I said it yesterday. They almost played a lot like a Sky and Scroll sort of match history, and it was very impressive. But I think it's the sort of thing that we can expect from this team, Levin. But as Frankie correctly said, when they didn't get the zone, that probably is going to be their problem today if they don't get zones again.
Yeah, definitely could be something to worry about for them. But I think, what fills me with confidence is what they did showcase when they made it to end games yesterday was that these guys have the power needed to find success. I'd argue I'd want to see a bit more from them, right? They had the same exact average placement than Sky and Scroll had, but they actually were averaging lesser limbs, which I think most people maybe wouldn't expect out of those two, right? You almost expect these guys to have a bit more firepower, a bit more aggressive in those moments to get more limbs. So hopefully they can show us that side of their game today.
Well, Levin, now you've mentioned aggression, it's made me think of Sires and Scary, because similar to Pablo and Chino, right? They actually had some great zones. They land at Swift Shard, but they were putting up a fantastic fight as well.
I think these guys are the perfect example of a team who, yes, does get lucky, but really grabs at the opportunity, Minnie. I mean,
Yeah,
there were so many situations where like these guys were put in positions where you could go, yeah, they got a good zone here and there. You know, they got a nice pullback on one of the half and half zones. But then they would just fight people and be aggressive. And they weren't playing scared. They weren't playing like a team who maybe doesn't have grand experience or doesn't have much expectation for themselves. They were just playing the day of their lives.
Yeah, it's right. And I think, you know, we obviously say, yeah, they got great zones yesterday. They got really lucky, I guess you could say, in that regard. But it's almost very easy to say that that was the reason for their success. But they also had to take that advantage. They had to take the opportunity that was given to them in those zones. And we often see teams that maybe are a little bit further down, less experienced in this situation, not taking advantage of those situations. But they played really, really well yesterday. They had the most amount of eliminations. They had the most amount of damage dealt as well yesterday. So a team that's on fire right now.
Another team that we're expecting to hopefully do well today, potentially come top 2, is Thomas and Focus Mini Miner, and they are landing on the west side of the map, Riptide, and they had a solid performance yesterday, but I think we can see more from them.
Oh, we can definitely see more from them. I think they, you know, of course, got very unlucky with the zones. They didn't get a single one. They almost had the worst day possible when it came to zones. They actually had the furthest distance traveled out of all of our teams yesterday, and they also took the most storm damage. So I think that sort of just paints the picture of how their day went. But they still managed to find success 11, which is absolutely key. But I don't think they were too happy about those zones yesterday.
No, they weren't. And actually, shout out to Boop, because Thomas was in Boop's chat after the 6 games, and he literally said, if I got the zones that Pablo and Chino had, we're winning FNCS tomorrow. Like, we'll just give us the zones. So I am hoping that they do get some zones. You know, I know Zeke over on NA, he actually controls all the zones in Fortnite, if you guys didn't know that. So hopefully Zeke can give Thomas some favorable zones today, and we can see if he can back his words.
Yeah, he should be sending, as should all the pro players, be sending lovely words to Zeke as they head to the lobby. Let's chat, though, about the changes to Net Surge, or Storm Surge. It's become Net Surge, I should say, for this season. It's clearly made an impact on all the players in the lobby. Some are coping better than others. And Mini Miner, can you talk to us, actually, about some of the changes that we've seen?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, the way the Storm Surge used to operate was total amount of damage that you dealt. It didn't take into account the amount of damage that you've taken. Now, this was the numbers from the 2025 Global Championships, and this was the damage ratio from, of course, our top 5 finish at those Global Championships. And you can see the numbers, you know, they had a lot of teams in this top 5, majority of them had that positive damage ratio. But I want you to remember that first place team, 1.31 damage ratio, quite low when you compare it to what's coming up, or what did happen, I should say, yesterday in this season 11.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the damage ratios here, and there's much more of an importance on actually having a positive damage ratio. It's not possible to have, you know, players or teams who have negative damage ratios and are finding success, right? It just goes against the nature of how the mechanic works. And I think, again, you see the direct translation of just Sky and Scroll. The team we've been saying has been the best, most consistent team. They are the best when it comes to keeping their damage ratio high, right? They don't take much damage, but they're able to get damage off on other players at a very, very high clip. And so it's good to see that. It's interesting to see how that unfolds though for now the rest of the lobby as far as adjustments that need to be made from day 1 to day 2.
Well, there are a lot of jurors who are looking to make some changes as we head into day 2 and our final 6 games. So let's hear from Taka and Takata, because I'm interested to hear their thoughts on yesterday's action.
One thing's always going to be clear whenever it comes to a 2-day format, and that's the fact, Takata, that we know all of these duos have likely been hitting the VODs, especially those teams that were struggling to try and establish their net surge. Here today, they have the opportunity to make some of those adaptations that Levin had just kind of referenced.
And I'm hoping that we see it. We could maybe see more sneaky plays. Even some of the most aggressive players have had difficult tournaments all over the world, not just in EU, but looking here at players like Sharkantini. I mean, these are incredibly aggressive players, and when you kind of have to focus on not taking damage as much as doing it, I'm curious to see what mix-ups we see. Even from Swizzy, we saw him practicing the off spawn, so I'm hoping to see a little bit more sneaky action, a little bit more kind of net surge focused plays, and then there's even duos like Darm and Demish who are kind of dropping all over the map. I think their most recent drop was Humble Hills, but they started somewhere else, and they've just been mixing it up throughout the whole day.
It's not really that surprising, though, to see Darm and Demish going on tour after what happened at Tip Top Terrace after all, Takata, but for right now, we got to get back to the desk to see what else they've got to say.
Thank you so much, guys. Now, it's not just about becoming the Major One champions today. It's also about qualifying for the Major One Summit at the PSD Bank Dome in Dusseldorf. And there are a lot of teams who are probably feeling very satisfied in the top 10 right now, feeling fairly secure, but anything can change. However, one thing that does have to change is the focus for some of our duos who are sitting outside the top 20 right now. So if we head to page 3, we'll see iDrop and Marius sat in 30th. Yeah, we're not looking at them to win, but hopefully, Levin, they can change things up enough to make more impact, because I feel like we barely saw them yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you want to expect that from these guys, especially if you're Marius, right? Right now, it's looking like a Danish FNCS. All the Danish players are all celebrating excitedly at the top of the leaderboard. Which one of us is going to win another FNCS? And you have to remember, Marius was obviously that first Danish player to break that barrier and do it. He obviously had a great global championships, a great year, and he's sort of just having to watch it, you know, from the outside. He's like that one Squidward meme, right? And so ultimately, you want to see Marius sort of step up. You want to see him take things into his own hands. But it's a tough situation for them, Mini, right? Going back and watching a lot of their games, they're just having a tough time at Latte. There's so many different teams that I felt like were just sort of roughing them up all over the POI. Players coming in, camping buildings, players on the outside, you know, taking shots at them when they had less favorable bus paths, and their games just looked rough. And so hopefully they can sort of get a grip on things and figure things out. But ultimately, you know, I reckon they're going to be in for another tough day.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been even worse for them as well. They had a 4th place in that last game, which was when that zone, of course, pulled all the way up to Latte. So they could have been in much worse situation. But thankfully for them, they clutched up there. So hopefully they can bring that momentum into today.
And hopefully so can Akira and Karama, our gentle mates, French representatives. They're definitely going to be disappointed with yesterday's performance. Everything seemed to be going wrong for these guys. But there was a good reason for that, Mini Miner.
Yeah, after game number 3, they were surprise contested by Serena and Pixovsky down towards the south of that frigid fortress area that they were landing. And that really makes things difficult, Levin. When you are sort of, you know, a team of this caliber, a team that everyone's expecting to do well, then you start going down off spawn, you start having some troubles, then leaving that drop spot. It just changes things up so much. So now for a team that a lot of people would have expected to be in the top 10, maybe even the top 5, they're looking at just about hopefully making it into the top 20.
Yeah, it's really hard for them in that situation, especially because there were some games where like they lost your spawn, but one of them would survive. And so you have the ability to revive your teammate, but we know how hard it can be when you're landing at a spot that's central to then have to completely switch up your idea about how you're going to play the game and recover the game. It's not going to be easy for them, but, you know, we'll have to see if they even stay contested, right? Because, you know, the team ended up leaving some of the last games. So they'll definitely be hoping that they can survive. I mean, I'm looking at this final page, Frankie, and I mean, it's hard to look at one of the teams here for sure.
I'm gonna try and be optimistic about this. Could we see a historical performance for the ages from Swizzy and Pixie? Attacker said they have been practicing their Osborne. They were looking for volunteers yesterday at 11. Is it too late for these guys to make it to LAN?
No, because I think, you know, I look at how many points they're probably going to need today, right? And, you know, we sort of have an estimate of like around 300 odd points in that sort of range. Can these guys sort of average, you know, 60 points per game over the course of 5 games? I think they probably could, Mini. It's going to take a lot, though, because they really struggled off spawn here at Dark Dominion. Even when they weren't having problems with Truly, they were having problems here underneath the POI with teams sort of rotating in. You can see them getting snuck up on. You had Hydro and Kaito for 9 and Moneymaker constantly sneaking in the tunnels and stealing some of their loot from underground and just sandwiching them in. It was really rough and really nasty at times. I don't know what to expect at all, because I don't see what changes unless they just leave.
Yeah, well, now they have the context of what happened in day 1. Hopefully they can sort of learn from that, right? They're 2 very good players. You'd expect them to be winning those fights, but, you know, it's going to be difficult for them. It's not easy at all.
Well, if you're a Swizzy and Pixie fan, send them your best, because we are ready to board the battle bus. It's time for Game 7 with Taco and Takata.
Thank you guys so much. And I think what's really exciting about today, Takata, is all of the stipulations surrounding it. It's not just 20 teams that we're going to be confirming for this Major One Summit LAN, but we got to see what happens first, because Game 7's ready to go.
Despite my bias being from Spain, I would like to see some West zones today. I want to see, you know, the teams at the top prove that it's not all the zones. They have the experience and skills needed to continue that place. and I'd like to see them prove it. Regarding kind of the early game that we were alluding to, Taco with Swizzy, you were saying he's been practicing off spawns?
After yesterday's matches, it comes as no surprise that they were interested in looking towards those off spawns. But what I'm interested in right now is Wonky Land. Things were really starting to heat up yesterday. Sharktini definitely falling short of the expectations that the entire community and those even outside of EU had sort of placed upon these two. And whether you could argue that's just Huddy and Fishy having really, ticked all the boxes and doing their homework, making sure that they came super prepared to try and overthrow Sharkantini from the POI. But this has been a conversation that started in the offseason, and it's not going to stop anytime soon here today. Sharktini, though, gathered a little bit of their bearings around them. Teeny kind of just waiting for the prime opportunity to strike, looking for some of those opening shots, opening blows. A couple good tags there onto Fishy, but still not enough for him to feel comfortable with trying to go in for the full-on attack.
We saw a lot of confidence coming from Sharktini, not just in these major finals, but Div Cups, scrims, all sorts of opportunities where if they kind of had the chance to take those 1v1s. So I'm curious to see how that changes here in day 2.
And we know that for a fact that there's going to be some teams that are going for those surprise contested situations. Nebs, Nathan, this is just an excellent review here of how Nathan was able to clutch things up for him and his duo. Even though Adapted Exer tried to interrupt them over at Humble Hills, those opening eliminations, it still bodes pretty well for their net surge overall. And Darm Deemish, I think, are another one of those teams where you never really know what their next move is going to be. The only thing that's for certain right now here today, Takada, is that they're going to continue going on tour. It was unfortunate that they lost their original POI drop with Tip Top Terras, but game is game. And sometimes for pros, you have to make those on-the-fly adaptations. And one big thing for Darm and Deemish is their strategy just really seems to be reminiscent of that OG Misha Teeny strat, where they're the ones that are looking for those ambush attacks on teams, interrupting their loot paths, and it makes perfect sense. They're very competent fighters, and they had about half their matches yesterday where they really got to play out the end games, and they managed to find themselves in 12th place heading into today, which is pretty impressive, given when you don't actually have a home to call your own.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say comfortably in the top 20, but the difference between 12th and 20 is not much at all. Cutoff is currently 153 points for top 20. The estimates, we were saying around 250 to 300 when the day ends. But let's see if this strategy of kind of going all over the map pays off. Deemish Darm actually did land at this POI previously, so now that they've been spotted out and the noise has been made, the aggression is going to kick off.
It's just Darkos also lurking in the wings. Ifrozi and Azad, they might have maybe been suspecting, given that Darm Deemish, they did make an indication that they were interested in possibly contesting them pretty early on. But it's lobby conditioning after all, and for Darm Deemish, everybody's got to be on their toes, never really know what to expect from these two, aside from the fact that they're willing to get scrappy. They're going to have to duke it out here now. Rosie trying to see if he can get a separate angle of approach here. Just going to reconvene with his duo, though. Sharktini, on the other hand, they're ready to strike. Wonky Land really starting to heat up already here in Game 7. Teeny looking for the immediate approach. Here's the thing, Teeny and Shark. Buddy and Fishy, they stole your POI. They stole your placement yesterday. I mean, they played the reverse Uno card on these guys. And now they're trying to take their chain back. Wonky Land has to be established. And for Sharktini, you know that they want to call it their own, but as long as Huddy and Fishy exist in the lobbies that they are also participants to, that's just not going to be feasible.
This is a big match for both of these players, and there's not any all-out aggression coming through. The issue is they can't fully split it either. We're seeing how that goes. Darm Deemish, though, have picked up Darkos. There was a lot of third parties in the surrounding area, but from what I'm seeing is it looks like they might have just made it out.
Must have been an unfortunate outcome there for Minori early on, since it was just Darkos lurking by himself. Scary inside as though this might be a big part of the reason why Darm and Deemish left the actual vicinity of Builder's Barracks, because third-party intervention is always going to be a prime issue for every single one of these duos. Scary. Now trying to see if he can get the wraparound. The confidence, though, really starting to showcase itself after yesterday. Hard to also forget what took place. And Saya's nearly had one of the most insane solo clutches that we've ever seen in a finals lobby, but Azet just tinkering around in these lower layers. Nowhere really left for him to run, though. He's kind of just getting pinched from both Scary and Saya as separate angles of approach.
2v1. Shouldn't be long before Saya Scary closes this off, but I don't want to jinx anything. Both players are now cracked. It's a 1v1 as that has completely turned this fight around. Sayas trying to sneak his way out. Just one build left. And Scary now has a lot more pressure on his shoulder. Oh, no.
It just doesn't matter. Azet defends home base, and that is going to be a detrimental blow already to our third place team on the leaderboard. When you talk about the metrics, Takada, you know, the ripple effects, it makes it so much more feasible for somebody in forward like Vika Malibuka to overtake. But looking at these initial opening shots, that was just a nasty opener from Azet. But the fact that he was able to even break through in the first place in that 1 versus 2, Zayas and Scary, they had the right idea, just the wrong execution.
You just cannot be losing those 2v1s, especially in the early game. If you're looking to get not only a top 3, I mean, this was contenders coming up on top. And I mean, the zone was even pulling towards them once again. So much confidence after day 1, the performance of their lives, and now a rough start to day 2. Hopefully they can just forget about it and move on. They still have 5 more matches today. Shark Peony's still here in Wonky Land.
I'll tell you one thing, that's the problem, Takada, still here. We're in the third zone, and there is yet to be a conclusion formed between who's actually coming out on top for this off spawn. And granted, Wonky Land is one of those POIs that you can split and still see both duos have a pretty dominant performance from, but at the end of the day, you know that's not what either of these teams are interested in. There is so much pride riding on the line here right now, and for Sharktini especially, they've got a rep to rebuild, because yesterday's performance was just, it was just not indicative of what we've seen from them all throughout the off season. And here in this grand finals lobby, day 2, it'd be your best chance to get a little recovery tour going, and now they've kind of overstayed their welcome. They're making themselves a little bit more susceptible even to potentially getting third-partied. I mean, you have to remember, there's still Quek and Mydro over by Toy Box Docks that could decide to mosey on over once they hear some of those shots starting to ring out, and it's very believable that other teams would be drawn to the area.
Going back over to our number 1 duo, though. They've been playing with each other for so long. And as Minnie was saying on the desk earlier, one thing to highlight from Sky and Scroll is they weren't as far as possible, as far as you can be from the zone, but they weren't pulling every zone either. And they still only had 1 match outside of the top 10 throughout the whole day. So we can expect to see them keep that consistency up. Honestly, no matter where the zone goes. I guess if we got like all north zoned pulls today, it could look a little difficult, but Vico Malibuka, I'm happy to see them in 4th place. They had a interesting time in heats, but seeing them here in set lobbies with the best of the best, it's what they're comfortable performing in.
You might be happy to see them in 4th, but knowing Vika Malibuka, that is most definitely not the same sentiment that they're going to be sharing here today, Takada. They are looking to really see if they can make some big leaps to play catch-up with Sky and Scroll. But Flixie Chap, another one of those teams that you can 100% expect to not be content with their current placement on the leaderboard. They are trying to go up, up, up. And I mean, starting off over uncontested at Storm Station, it's a very northbound position. Zones, though, I don't think that was their primary issue after yesterday. I think it's really just about smoothing out those mid to end game transitions, but yeah,
we gotta call Zeke.
Yeah.
We gotta see what's going on with these zones. We gotta make a phone call, phone a friend. Once again, Sandy Strip. Yeah, it's not it's not looking great. I know Thomas he's locked in right now, but he's gonna be like, are you kidding me? Really, this is how we're kicking off the day? But I mean, look, the good news is I'd hope that, you know, they took the time to kind of do the homework and prepare for this. Scroll, though, picking up another elim, as now they're looking very well off.
Yeah, Fork, I'm sorry. You had no business being near that storm base from Sky and Scroll. That is... that is actually wicked work there, though. Sky Scroll not going to complain about 4 additional elimination points here. Yapko Panzer, a team that is just inside that top 20 threshold currently, but obviously there's more at stake than just that LAN qualification spot for the Major 1 Summit. Everybody wants to also earn as much prizing as they can from this Major 1 Grand Finals, and for Yapko and Panzer, they're content to just stay a little bit tucked away from the rest of the commotion, but Shark, Teeny, time to get a move on. Trying to block off shots best they can. 251 above right now on their damage threshold. So both teams will at least leave intact from Wonky Land. Question now is just, what are they going to do to prove that surviving Wonky Land is going to net a nice endgame?
Thing is, yeah, it's more than just winning Wonky Land, right? It's a POI where you can rotate late out of. You have incredibly good, you know, rotation opportunities with the Wonky Wheel, low mist overdrive combo. But Shark Teeny is a team that wanted to kind of block Muddy and Fishy from making it to Summit 1. And after finishing 21st day 1, now I think they're just focused on kind of cementing themselves in a better place on the leaderboard. But speak of Huddy and Fishy, both players now have gone down.
And it's Vico Malabuka. They're gonna be the ones to shut them out. Malabuka and Vico, I mean, hey, you encroach upon their territory over at Frigid Fortress. You're bound to get a little bit of a bite back here. Panzer, though, seeing him and Yapko in this dire straight position. Ju trying to do what he can. Likely low on Surge. Panzer also gonna fall below, and it doesn't matter. Katri and Ju are gonna be able to solidify that last elimination there, but I thought that they were going to be able to avoid most of the traffic. It's just the way that XZ and Chris Buka seemingly snuck up on them. Really played spoiler in their mid-game, but yeah, Cantry and Ju are still just below the Surge threshold. Trying to play catch-up right now. Last we saw Chris Buka and XZ, they were also another one of those duos that was just underneath their Surge threshold, which is probably a big part of the reason why they forced that fight against Yapko and Panzer to begin with, but Katri and Ju, just how long do you really intend to try and wait this one out? Only 25 below. The last medkit being used right now, even from Ju, has a couple of small shield potions, but really has to depend on Katri to find a shot. And he'll connect it, but at what cost currently? Chris Buka and XZ just collapsing fully onto Ju's duo. Ju gonna come crashing into their box, but he just doesn't have any health to work with, and the Surge will take care of him.
Vico Malabuka, something's gone terribly wrong. From picking up Putty Fishy to now Vico playing solo, 145 below. Trying to fish up anything to help him heal up here. How did this happen?
That Surge is a very fickle beast to contend with inside of a set lobby finals. And every single duo, after yesterday's performance, whether good or bad, everyone has had to reevaluate where they build their Surge from. And even experienced teams like Vico, like Malabuka, it's very realistic for them to struggle. It's a new mechanic and just too much for Vico to try and contend with this time. Checo Centilio will head over to his loot body, but it's a tough break, that's for sure. But it is only Game 7. We still have plenty more matches still to go.
That we do. Yannis cheating 7th place on the leaderboard. Looking incredibly healthy going into this late game. They've had pretty favorable zones as well. It is very close. They drop right beside Sias and Scary, so hopefully they can capitalize it once again, seeing that they got a nice zone to kick it off today.
Yannis and Cheaton have done an excellent job I don't think most people would have had them painted for top 10, especially 7th place. But Chat Flixie, it seems like trouble is definitely starting to strike here. iJob Media is going to be the ones that actually hold them at bay. Sharktini also just below on their damage threshold, applying even further pressure onto Chap. Once a team is kind of gauged to be a little bit weakened, the whole lobby focus in. Nice little harpooning efforts from Shark also. Steal away some of that additional loot. It's those micro mechanics that can make a pretty big difference later on. Nice tag onto Medius too, but 83 above, they're still gonna have to get active. They're gonna have to get fraggy. And if there's a duo that you wanna see get fraggy in the first place, it's gotta be Shark and Teeny.
I want their confidence to be fully built back up, though. You can kind of tell they're a little desperate to get back up that leaderboard. But looking at Chap here, 315 below. I was talking about it yesterday. This is a team that had really high expectations going into 2026, and they just haven't quite lived up to it in terms of how the placements have been. But they have the experience. The issue is kicking it off like this, going down top 30.
Wrong place, wrong time, man. Chap had to move. He didn't have any options, but it's just unfortunate the overdrive grenade just sent him fully into the line of sight there of Shark and Teeny, but they're not going to complain about that in the slightest. Now starting to crank just a little bit up, headed for the high ground. Don't believe that they have ultimate height established just yet. Seems like they're going to wait things out temporarily. They got a little bit of leverage here on secondary height. Gold Peshka, Chino, Pablo, just a couple of teams that might be starting to go a little bit more head-to-head for that actual ultimate high ground control. But Momsy and Skyjump, 273 above. So their surge looking decent, but it's always a little bit more cautious for how you want to proceed. Even if you got surge now, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to maintain it when you make the next rotate.
Kira Karama, only duo that was ahead. We'll take a look at what Thomas Focus have been up to. Nice little elims. They needed these refreshes, considering that they had to make a incredibly far rotate once again just to get here, but it's one of the teams that has still been performing well despite that. Chino Pablo, though, they have another opportunity at a big match.
Tanking, just a couple of ticks of storm. Might make for a late attempt, slightly later rotate, but it looks like disaster has struck here. Pablo and Chino, while they're waiting for the opportunity, instead they're gonna be the one seized upon. Pablo now looking to fight things out, but Reason, no, Riley, desperate there. Not gonna come crashing into Pablo's box just yet, but Pablo's not careful. They might choose to follow him. Will manage to actually navigate his way towards the front side of zone, but as a solo in this kind of position, you just gotta be so paranoid because teams, one layer above, one layer below, you never know when someone's gonna come running right at you. And Skyjump Momsy seems like they want to take more control of this ultimate low ground. We saw just how fruitful it was for Sky and Scroll in yesterday's performances. So if another team has those same intentions, could be interesting. No Riley, though. Not going to stick around. Ghosty cleaning up Dina's backside of the zone. Thomas and Focus, though, they've got their eyes set on the prize, and it's just making sure that they cut off Surefour and repairs. But they've already managed to target further ahead. Pablo's still looking for eliminations, and we've seen Pablo do it before. Takada, the solo clutch factor is definitely there, but how much more placement, how many more eliminations can he realistically secure from this point?
Currently top 16. Issue is he only has 3 builds. Sharktini, this is what we've been waiting for. They're running low on mats. They're going to need to look for some refreshes. Sky Scroll in a similar situation. Issue is backside of zone now. Looking for options. Yanis Cheatin, Holden, Height, Strong. So far, no teams have contested them, but it looks like Shark has gone down. Teeny is left all alone. Pablo still able to clutch this up, gets a nice refresh, and now has a chance to continue forward.
The branches, man, just stopping him in his tracks. TD also going to be brought to a fall. Thomas and Focus now waiting in the wings here. Sky, additionally a solo, but he's looking. He's just trying to dance around the lobby. He's fist buying him a little bit of time, making him a slightly more difficult target to try and track down. But Sky, the fact that he hasn't received any damage just yet Looking to get a big shot onto Nebs. Doesn't actually get the full knock, though. Just takes out his shields. He is not healthy on the low ground. But Thomas and Focus, they find Sky. That's going to be 9 eliminations already for Thomas and Focus. They are cranking things up a notch here. Looking to maybe drop another layer. Potentially see if they can play cleanup crew to those teams in the ultimate low ground. Or just let them collide against each other. But Repairs and Sherfer, the consistent pressure. Thomas doesn't have any more builds. He can't afford to go for the chop. He's forced to transition to ultimate low. Thomas, though, nearly gets the shot, but Nathan gonna put him in the dirt. Nathan and Nebs, another double elimination team, looking to try and close this one out.
Almost at 100 points in a single match, but the issue is his teammate is down. Cringe now, trying to see if he can continue his momentum from when he kicked things off yesterday in game 1, but he is gonna go down.
Sherfro's gonna be the first one to drop. Repairs still applying pressure from overhead. They've just got to track down Nathan, but he can't withstand the storm. Sherfor and Repairs finding their first victory royale of the weekend here in Game 7.
That height at the end was getting chaotic. Thomas HD focused. They were looking for it. Jeet and Janice could not hold on for long enough, but somehow Repairs, sure, they got the job done. They took it at the right moment. Desk, I need you to break that down for me.
I think the best summary is they took it by force, Levan 2K. Repairs was known as one of the biggest damage dealers, I think top 10 damage dealer in the lobby yesterday, and now he can call himself a Victory Royale winner too.
Yeah, look, I want to give these guys a lot of credit, but I also want to take a moment to give praise to one of my personal favorite analysts in Fortnite, and that's Coach Harry. He was on the broadcast for Reload, right? I spoke to Coach Harry before Grants and I asked him, who's your surprise team? Who's the underrated team that you really rate? And he said, I see Sherfor and Repairs getting a top 10 this weekend and surprising a lot of people. I think he even said as far as like he could see them even sneaking towards a closer top 5 position, something mad like that. And I sort of looked at him and I went, oh, I don't know about that one, but I think this is exactly what he was seeing in the replays that I think a lot of people weren't seeing, is their ability, Mini, to have games just like this one.
Well, he might just be absolutely right, because on the start of the day, they started in 11th place, and that win is surely going to boost them way up in the standings. Can't wait to see where they are right now. But a really nicely closed out endgame right here. We had a little bit of a sort of UK battle down on low ground with Nevs and Nathan against Twy and Cringe. And what they did really well here was just stayed up above Waltz. All those guys fought it out down below. Sure, really nice elimination right there onto Cringe just to go down. And what I like here as well, Repairs was just staying up on top, almost securing the win while Sure was taking them out in Storm. So really nicely played from these guys. Hopefully a sign of more things to come. And of course, as the caster said, it's their first win. So let's see if they can keep that momentum going.
Yeah, looking nice and clean from these guys. So let's see what they can do in the next 5 games. We will be back in a few minutes though, gang, because we need to take a short break. When we come back, more about game number 7.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
2 teammates have his back. Where's Nash? Gets the drop on the Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting up Vanya. 3v1.
I got here. I'm popping in that bit. Wait, choke. Got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you're mid, wait. 100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk? Stay there.
Welcome back to day 2 of the FNCS Europe Major 1 finals, and we just saw Shortfall and Repairs take the first victory royale of today. So I'll be curious to see where that gets them within the top 10, because they were sat in 11th before we kicked off today's action. And action we saw in our first game at 11-2K, because it was exciting to see Thomas and Focus managing to overcome the challenge of heading to a zone on the other side of the map. Usually they use that as an excuse to not pull off a great game, but they had 10 eliminations, made it to 4th. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, look, I think, Thomas and Focus obviously were asking for better zones here in day 2. They would have obviously seen that zone many and gone, all right, we're not going to get our better zones. We just got to do this ourselves. We got to put our tournament in our own hands. And the one thing I said about these guys yesterday was that you're not going to be more consistent than Sky and Scroll. And so how can you beat them? You have to outfrag them. And the way they came into this game, they were hitting shots. They were looking to be aggressive. They picked up a double-digit elim game. Those are the types of games they need to keep having if they have any chance of catching up to first place.
Yeah, 10 eliminations is absolutely huge. 4th place in that game. Sky and Scroll had a 7th place with 4 eliminations. So they've actually beaten them in that game, which is absolutely huge for them. And I think it's kind of unfortunate for Thomas and Focus, because if it wasn't that Sky and Scroll were actually so good, actually took out Sky there, of course, as well. If it wasn't that Sky and Scroll was so good, they'd probably be on track to win this FNCS, because when you look at the teams above them in terms of Chino and Pablo, they've had fortunate zones. So it's like they haven't necessarily proved themselves as well when it comes to further zones. It's just really unfortunate for them that Sky and Scroll are just doing so well at the moment. Things can change though, and if that first game's anything to go by, they did better than them. So how's things going to change out the rest of the games?
Yeah, what did go wrong for Sky and Scroll in that last game, mini minor? They made it. They made an appearance in the end game. Is it just like a resource situation?
Yeah, everything was looking good. I mean, we saw it in the mid-game. We saw them inside of the Storm, like I sort of talked about previously. Ultimately, Scroll went down, and usually it is Scroll that's been most successful with these solo clutches, Levin. It was left to Sky. He had no materials, couldn't find his way around, and I think probably this duo would rather have Scroll in that situation, but a decent game nevertheless.
Yeah, I think either one of them, I think is more than capable. I think we saw in the heats, it was Sky that was solo clutching a bit more than Scroll, right? So I think either one of them is comfortable.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't think this is the worst game in the world for them. I think this is actually fine. Yeah, they couldn't find the win condition. Obviously, Sky is forced to solo clutch. It was a difficult zone to do so, especially with how height we're playing it. But I think you'd still be happy with how that game played out, especially as far as, Chino and Pablo are concerned, and Chino going down and maybe not having the best of games there.
Yeah, what happened, Levin? We saw Pablo doing this classic solo clutch, but why did he end up in that situation?
It was quite unfortunate. It was this rotation here. They were the last ones to go. And so there's people looking backside. Chino just gets sprayed out. Unfortunate, because the setup looks like what we had seen from them yesterday, where they're just looking like they're going to have another really good game and keep up with Sky and Scroll. But Pablo had to clutch up, and as though he is one of the better solo clutches in this lobby, if you ask Destiny Jesus, he might tell you he's one of the best of all time. He wasn't quite able to salvage enough points, right, to really make it happen. And so still a good game from Pablo, able to stay up as long as he did. Chino, unfortunate to go down there. The timing on that rotation was really just what got them.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of their game 3 from yesterday when we had that wonky land pull. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they went down in exactly the same way. And I'm pretty sure it was Chino in that exact same situation where they tried to use one of those overdrive grenades at the wrong time. They sort of got dropped down. Of course, they didn't take full damage, but they were just on show to the rest of the lobby that had already advanced forward. So I think there's a problem there that they're having. Hopefully they can fix it, though. And if they get different zones, maybe we'll see different plays from them. But still not the worst game ever for them. Maintains their spot in second.
Well, let's take a look at the leaderboard again, because I want to see where Cyrus and Scary, our Spanish duo, are. Because Mini Minor, it wasn't a great game for them. It's amazing. It really speaks volumes of their performance yesterday that they've only gone down one place because they had a horrible off-spawn.
Well, it's their worst game. It is the first knock that we've seen from these guys, their first problem, and they went down here, Levin, in quite surprising fashion, especially considering how much we were hyping them up at the beginning of the day.
Yeah, we were bigging him up for their fighting, and then they just allow Azat to isolate the 1v1, and he didn't miss the shots, and then Scary's on the back end. He tries to get, Sayas back up, right? And they look for the revive in the mist, and Azat was not letting it happen. Jumps in the box, one pump, bang, back to the lobby for the Spaniards. A game to forget, but hopefully not a sign of what's to come. We saw them win a lot of those fights. Like that's just a fight that they would have won and cleaned up really quickly yesterday. A bad sign to start the day.
I'm excited about it now, though, because it's like, sorry, Frankie, because it's like, it's something we haven't seen from these guys yet this weekend. And you spoke about it at the beginning of the day, Levin. These guys want to make sure they're not going to be the anomaly. They're not going to be the team that fall off after day one. So how are they going to react now? They haven't been in this situation before when we look at their entire careers, and they haven't been in this situation before when we look at just this weekend. So this is going to be a really exciting team to watch now.
I mean, it must be so difficult when you are outperforming other people's expectations of you, and suddenly you're like, actually, this is reality. We could do this, but now all we need to do is almost like not get ahead of ourselves and not let the nerves set in. And I wonder if that's something on their minds, because they know they should make it to Dusseldorf, but now they know that they could also win $120,000, Levin.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot of pressure, right? And so when you're the team that was winning a bunch of fights, and now, you go into your first important fight the next day and it just doesn't quite work for you, do you start to question yourself? Do they now think, actually, no, maybe we shouldn't be as aggressive as we were yesterday? And that ends up leading to the decline of the performances. I wonder where their mentality is at in that regard.
And they had a favorable zone as well. It's like another missed opportunity. We spoke about it a little bit yesterday, these missed opportunities for these teams. They're going to be looking at that now, where that zone ended up, and be like, oh, if only we won that fight. But hopefully it doesn't knock them down too much.
Who are we looking at then going into this next game? Who are we expecting to really step things up? Say, hypothetically, we finally get a West pulling zone Mini Minor.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at
Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's going to be their moment to sort of have a massive game and sort of close the gap in that first phase. It's going to be big for me to look at Pablo and Chino to see if we do get that West zone, because the one time they did have a West zone, it wasn't great for them. So we're sort of looking at different teams up there for different reasons as well. And even sort of further on down the leaderboard, excited to see that sort of section as well, as see how that develops when we look at that top 20.
Can I say it's really nice to see Thomas back in duos and back on form as well, because I feel like we're getting the Thomas that we know and love and provides so many exciting moments. And I feel like we missed out on that last year. So I'm going to savor these last 5 games and see what all the players here in Europe can bring us as we head back to Taco and Takata.
Thank you, Frankie. Look, Thomas HD and Focus were not the only ones that had over 10 eliminations coming from the west side of zone with that east pull in the last match. Nebs, Nathan as well. But I want to keep my eyes on Shark and Teeny. They're in 14th now. Going into that game, they were 21st. They've jumped up to 14th. We weren't seeing them play as confident against Huddy and Fishy. Huddy Fishy did go down without getting not many points at all. And the thing is, Shark Teeny don't only want to prove themselves with the performances leading into these major finals, but they want to make sure that Huddy and Fishy do not make it to the Summit 1. The issue is, Taco, they have to confirm their spot themselves first.
I just love that they keep playing leapfrog with the placements on the leaderboard, but right now we'll happen to wait to see what Game 8 has in store. And as you can expect, Takata, that fight over by Wonky, it is still going to be a very open-ended conversation, but there has been a lot of shuffling taking place around the map. We're getting a nice little overview, checking in. Swizzy, Pixie, Truly, Gonzo. Nobody would have anticipated this to be so heavily against Swizzy and Pixie, but they're looking to restore honor in their name. Truly, though, going to be able to strike back. It's a 1-for-1 exchange. Elimination ring out. Swizzy has the Iron Pump, though, just looking to try and chase down Truly. But you have to imagine this is only going to draw another third-party intervention soon enough. Swizzy just trying to track down this final elimination as quickly as possible. He knows the clock is working against him. He knows Haijo, Keto, they might be hot on the trail here, already trying to take the teleporter to cut them off in those tunnels. And Truly, he's got weapons, but that's about it. He needs some shield. The HP department so much more heavily in Swizzy's favor. Trying to see if he can get an overhead view, but neither of these solos has very much material to work with, and that's the biggest reason why it's at such a standstill.
You were alluding to it earlier too. This is just the first part of the battle. Even if either player here comes out on top, there still could be more rotating in through the portals down below. So Swizzy knows that this fight has to be ended quickly, and now's the chance to do it. First shot connects, one more needed, as Truly is put into panic. Swizzy 170 effective HP, and is going to actually not connect that shot, and this fight is just continuing to stagger. You can see in the mini-map bottom right, there's already another team close by.
Truly just going to use that overdrive effect, but Swizzy is ready to collapse, and he finally connects the final shot. Swizzy and Pixie have technically come out on top, but it might be a short-lived victory because Keto, Haijo, they're already paced up in those tunnels. So even after getting the reboot off onto Pixie, it's only a matter of time before they have to contend with the duo that's directly underneath them.
Looking back at Wonky Land, we saw a slow start to the match in Game 7. I think it was third zone Taco. They were still here, farming, kind of shooting back and forth. I don't even know which zone they ended up rotating in, but I mean, they do have the wonky wheel. Teeny Shark now, though, they really want to be able to close this fight off quicker.
Teeny also just trying to bait out this chest. Huddy Fishy, though, fully aware of the fact that their opponents are very likely just slinking around Wonky Land, waiting for the perfect ambush. But Teeny, got to be very cautious here because it's still a 2 versus 1, technically speaking. Shark can provide some support, but he's got to be quick with it. Doesn't want to leave his teammate Teeny out by himself for too long, especially knowing that Twek is lingering too. But Nebs, Nathan, Humble Hills has been very active since the secondary half of yesterday, and they've actually been eliminated. The surprise contest, not so much a surprise here in day 2 after all, but it's just a matter of fact that another leaderboard team taken out very early on.
They had such a big game too. 11 eliminations, 2nd place. What a devastating finish. We'll see if they can come back from that now. Chino Pablo, on the other hand, had quite a nice start to the day, and also looking, as it seems, start to the match with a quick elimination.
Speed on Dallas over there. The overdrive grenade pump finish, but Swizzy loses Pixie one more time. The reboot did draw that extra company that was waiting underneath. Haijo, though, sent into not a total panic, but it is a bit awkward here now, because you would have anticipated that they would have been in a much more favorable spot to try and take out both Swizzy and Pixie simultaneously. Instead, Swizzy, he's just playing like this is everything, because it is when you think about it. They have such a daunting day ahead of them, Takada. They need so many points that they want to even try and consider top 20. So these eliminations that Swizzy's able to collect, they're going to need so many more of them, along with some strong placements. I don't want to call it impossible, because we've seen crazy things happen before in set lobby finals, but it is just such an uphill battle for those two to try and make it back for the LAN contention.
It's about like 50 points a game-ish. I mean, Levin was speaking about it. We said the estimate's 250 to 300 points, 5 end games, but what we mean by an end game, it's a top 5 with 4 eliminations. So getting that 5 out of 6 games today, well, I mean, we already had game 1, so they've already kind of got to step it up a little bit, but a long road ahead of them for Sky and Scroll on the other end. They've already continued with the consistency. The only thing that can danger them is if the other duos in the kind of top 3 range continue to get very high elimination matches, but it's just going to be so difficult to beat Sky and Scroll's consistency.
I'm just not over the fact of thinking that when the Major One Summit LAN does happen in Dusseldorf, that there is a very realistic possibility we're not going to see anyone from our global championship trio participate in it. It is heartbreaking to an extent, especially for, obviously, you know, the global championship individuals, but a new era in EU, that's for sure. Focus, Thomas. They're just trying to see if they can replicate some of that Game 7 success. They're going to need those types of games to stack up here. They want to see if they can overthrow Sky and Scroll after their Game 1 performances yesterday.
Pico Malabuca, they found some eliminations on the Huddy Fishy in the last match when they rotated through. They've already kicked it off with 2 as well. They dropped down 2 placements on the leaderboard after Game 1. But they're still in a comfortable position. 5 matches left to close out these major finals.
Stary lurking. Not going to give away his position just yet. Doesn't have... Typically, you would want to see the set duo go for that 3-2-1 beam. Might not have felt as confident in being able to bring down Thomas if it's only him sending those shots forward. Adapted. Also going to continue. Try and wrap around here. Meet up with Dexterity, but the opportunity might have just missed them. And now Twek might even be able to get overhead. Look back, though, into what Sky and Scroll are getting up to. It's not just the Surge base, it's eliminations, and that is a very big blow to achieve, by the way. I mean, Sky and Scroll are doing everything in their power to control their own destiny at this point.
They really are. I mean, see how far they've come so far, and I want to see them, you know, they have no FNCS finals titles, not only win an FNCS, but also continue forwards in to the Summit 1 LAN at Dusseldorf.
I know a comment that Minnie made earlier before we even kicked off the day is that when he was going through some of the replays here with Sky and Scroll, one thing that they definitely love to do is commit to these Storm-sided plays where they'll spend a decent amount of time in Storm, really not getting a move on until 4th or 5th zone. And I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's been working out for them wonderfully, and so they're able to still just keep tabs of their Surge. There's no reason for them to try and thwart themselves in the process. Skyjump and Momsy just trying to see what's going to be the catalyst for their performance here today. But they know that they've really got to try and find their rhythm soon enough. Everybody wants to make sure that they are at least within that top 20 on the leaderboard for the Summit LAN qual.
Mini Miner brought it up. Saya Scary, their worst match coming from their best performance in all their time playing Fortnite. I'm just hoping we see a strong mental from them now and see them continue like we saw them yesterday. I mean, the pressure is on them. We don't want to see them drop down. Thomas and Focus, though, they keep up the way they started today, we can quickly see them pushing up that top 3. And so far, it's looking like they're going to continue.
Hey, even if the zones aren't in their favor, they've clearly got other intentions for how to get the job done. Nice elimination there. Set them up 5-5-5, moving into the next couple of zones. Surefour M Repairs, though, looking much more like a dark horse contender for this weekend, Takata, especially after finding that Victor Royale in the last match. They've definitely set themselves into a pretty solid position here for the leaderboard overall. Now it's just about making sure that they continue to build on some of the points that they started to sort of gather up in that Game 7. Size and Scary, though, like to see them still being a little bit more reserved, switching things up. You know, maybe you came out a little bit too hot off the gate, right? A little too excited for Game 7. Realize, okay, well, maybe we can get fraggy, but, you know, maybe the off-spawn surprise con it isn't exactly where we want to hedge our bets. So I like that they're just opting to fall back a little bit here. Sky Scroll, though, they're ready to make their move. It's going to be a dead side zone approach.
They'll do their thing as we are still in Wonky Land. Sharktini. No elims on the board, you can see. It's been pretty peaceful here. As I think they're gonna decide to finally make their rotate come through. I was mentioning in the last game, Wonky is one of the POIs where you do have a bit of help in terms of rotating out with that Wonky wheel, but I'm looking to see a big game from Sharktini. I mean, you talked about Wonky Land being a splittable POI. We know they don't want to do it, but it seems like their focus right now is just kind of cementing themselves a good spot on the leaderboard before they start playing like we've seen them play throughout the season.
Sharktini actually cutting across over to Frozen Shard. Skyjump Mumsy staring to the buy, but take the rift. They're not going to wait. Other intentions aside from the wheel. Wonder if they even knew that Shakos and Tilio were actually waiting at the bottom of that Wonky Land wheel. Maybe that was a concern for them, that they didn't want to get tagged up. So they were going for that deeper rotation. But right now, Yapko, Panzer. Hopefully this time, there's nobody to play spoiler to their position. But that's part of the dangers that always occur, I think, in a set lobby finals, where you know that there's going to be more than one team that starts to get a little bit desperate for their surge when they're underneath that threshold.
Just to see how Thomas and Focus are looking now. And so far, they don't want to do anything too risky, just trying to kind of stay ahead of the zone here, let it pull towards them. In terms of damage, looks like they're sitting quite comfortably. I do see Kamihari close by. A lot of them kicking off yesterday, but today, seen nothing so far.
So there's a lot of action taking place underneath Thomas and Focus. Faded and Khan. Handful of other teams kind of sandwiched between where Thomas Focus are at and Kamihari. One of those big duos is bound to get involved soon enough here. Sharktini, 81 above right now. Both with a couple of eliminations, right? 2 for the pairing. So they were able to find something after they left Frozen Shard. Just wonder who it was that they actually managed to sort of sneak up on. But they'll make their way into this next edge of zone. They're gonna stick to the lower end. Do have a chance to look back now, and it's Mumsy and Skyjump after all. The intentions behind that Frozen Shard play was likely just to cut off the Frenchies, and that is a tough blow for Skyjump and Mumsy.
Yeah. On the contrary, though, Sharktini getting more and more set up for this late. Beamish Storm, 2 elims on the board. I wonder if it was from their kind of mix-up off spawn strategy, but either way, they've been continuing the momentum from yesterday. They had a rough start to day 1. They ended with a big match, and now going into day 2, they're continuing their success. They actually did take out Ifrazi and Azat in the early game, so showing the dominance from previous drops they've kind of had throughout this tournament.
Also just making it very clear that if they've marked somewhere, they likely have intentions to visit it eventually. And for Azat and Ifrazi, while they defended it one time, Four Fields is going to continue to be, I think, a pretty big point of contention for the remainder of our matches here today. But the lobby starting to close in. Teams, some kind of scattered around the outskirts of the zone, all different directions, but you can see those surges lighting up. Handful of different teams here now. Malibuca and Vico. While we didn't necessarily get to see too many overviews from their performances yesterday, one thing's for sure, Vico was definitely getting very active with dealing damage.
Whoa.
But Thomas, he's just sent wiggling around inside of his own box. Him and Focus brought so incredibly low. Part of the problem too, when we last saw them kind of tanking up those ticks of storm, they didn't have much white heals. They really only had splashes and a single chug jug. So now they've really got to depend on finding a refresh here, but Focus very low on his shields. Thomas maybe going to be able to take over the leading charge there for aggression. Malibuca Vico, on the other hand, just trying to apply some pressure, prevent any other teams from kind of encroaching on their position. They know there's at least 1 or 2 duos hurting nearby, but not enough for them to get a move on just yet.
Yeah, they also pulled quite literally the furthest zone they could here. Shark and Teeny, on the contrary, the perfect pull. They're capitalizing on it. Swizzy, Pixie as well. They actually got 48 points in the last match. We said they need 50 points a game if they want to make it to Dusseldorf. Seeing them in the end game, both with HP, I've got faith.
This might be best case scenario too for Malabuka and Vico. All those duos that just sent themselves scattering forward. Yapko, Panzer in a heavy world of hurt right now. Panzer just trying to outlast it with this Chug Jug focus. The only one left standing right now between himself and Thomas. As a solo, he's at least got the Mythic Pump to work with. His only form of ability, though, a singular overdrive grenade, and he's 240 below. He has to find a shot. He has to do it now. Panzer won't be able to connect. He's going to be cleared out of the lobby. But Focus, all eyes on you currently. Chat, Flixie, just behind him. He's going to opt to try, see if he can wiggle his way forward. Only 4 more players, and he might be saved. But you never want to leave it up to the rest of the lobby. But Malabuka, Vico, I thought it'd be beneficial, them being ahead of the rest of the pack, scattering in towards their direction. Instead, it looks like they've been overwhelmed. Now they're sitting underneath the Surge threshold. Malabuka has to find a big pump shot to connect. Otherwise, the Surge Ticks will take him out entirely. Him and Focus both just trying to see who's going to be the first to find that opening blow. But Focus, Mally, saved by the players in the lobby, eliminating themselves essentially. Surge won't work against them, but they are still in a dire situation. Both of these teams fighting for their placements on the leaderboard. They've got positions to defend, but it's Malabuka taken out by Focus. Siphon just in the nick of time. That is still the worst case scenario here now, though, for Mally. So he has to wait, see what happens next.
Whoa. What a way to go down for Thomas HD2. This just shows that even the best of the best in EU are struggling with this net. Surge forcing themselves in situations where they have to take those risks. Syaz now is actually left alone despite that elimination on Thomas HD. And both Huddy Fishy and Sharktini are second height and full height. From Wonky Land to the end game, this battle, it never ends.
But Shark and Teeny, Huddy, Fishy, neither of them really seemed all that set in terms of material. Huddy, Fishy, they might have the high ground for the time being, but with the way that the zone is pulling over a little bit of elevation shifts, they might have to layer transition eventually. They're gonna need to drop here. Syaz tried to go up, but that elevation shift brings him down instead. Shark, big blow against Sky there. Gonna keep him incredibly low, and now Teeny's ready to go up. Couple of opening tags there onto Huddy and Fishy, and Huddy's been dropped. Shark gets credit for it. Fishy all by his lonesome. He'll be forced to try and escape, but he's not gonna get away. Not this time. Shark and Teeny have total control of the high ground.
This is what we've been waiting for. Sharktini, they couldn't close out the fight in Wonky Land, but now in the late game, not only have they overthrown height, it's against the team that's contesting them. They do not want to give them a shot at the Major 1 LAN. Gino trying to do what he can to clutch up. Sky Scroll continue on the low ground. They got to be careful, though. A refresh comes through, and now the rotation continues forwards.
But Sky and Scroll, they are more than comfortable here in the lower layers. We saw how fruitful it was for them in yesterday's performance. They did a great job at just controlling the low ground. Anybody that was trying to layer swap last second always had to deal with them, and Chino left by himself. Pablo left behind. Chino trying to do what he can to connect some additional tags here. Siphon would go a long way for him. He's gonna send himself straight towards front side, low. Swizzy also trying to see if he can make it happen. He's been clawing his way through this match since the beginning, Takada. The fact that he's still standing as a solo is impressive enough as is. But Chino, very similar position, utilizing the building space now. On the other side of the wall, Pears gets the first shot. They were both waiting to connect, and Scroll, Sky, this is their best opportunity now to continue trying to extend their lead, but Sky gets put down. Repairs waiting in the wings. They are so ready to overtake these teams on the leaderboard, but you gotta make sure that you're looking every direction here because teams sneaking up just behind, and it's Shark, it's Teeny. We sight of them on the high ground, but they didn't lose sight of the players in the lobby. They're bringing this one home.
This is what we've been waiting for. 12 eliminations for Shark and Teeny. Frankie, Levin, Mini, I know you're going to have smiles on your face.
There has been a revenge narrative all weekend between Shark and Teeny and Hutty and FishyX at Wonky Land. And we thought that this one was probably going to end by the mid-game, given that they were so stubbornly refusing to leave until there was a victor. But then they decided it on height, Levin.
I was so excited. As soon as we got that drone shot and we saw who was on height, who was on second height, I knew we were getting one thing and one thing only, Mini, and that was gonna be cinema. At the end of the day, you don't go swimming if you're not ready to swim with the Sharks. And as soon as those two went up for height, I said, yeah, man, they're ready for the comeback. That's what they're looking for. Big pop-off games. That's what we want to see from people. Of course, I mean, I like seeing, you know, people get third place 4 elims consistently game after game. But what I like more is seeing Shark and Teeny getting a win with 12 elims. That is what we want to be seeing.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. So I'm just looking, that's actually only their second top 10 overall over this weekend. They got 4th in the first game, and then it was, of course, that win right there. Absolutely huge for this team. Going to do them wonders in terms of the leaderboard, but also in terms of their confidence as well, just proving that they are here to play. They would have fixed a couple of those mistakes maybe from yesterday, those mid-game off-spawn sort of situations that they found themselves in. And I think the height take just individually was really, really impressive. I was really excited when these guys went up. We were sort of excited in the back, and the way that they went and took height, I think we might not get to see it, but it's I love the way that they went about it, because they actually used the new sort of ADS whilst up in the air feature. I think it was Shark that did it, just to absolutely beam. Yeah, he had that Nemesis rifle, just to absolutely beam. I think it was Hutty all the way up on height, and that's not something that you could have done previously in previous seasons. But the knowledge of that was super useful, and of course, when they're in this situation, there's only one eventual outcome.
Yeah, I'm glad we saw both of them sort of popping off, right, as far as Shark and Teeny, because obviously Shark gets all the hype. But I think people forget just how good Teeny is, right? The best controller player in the world for a reason. I know Reet over on the name might be feeling a way about me saying that, but you have two incredibly talented players who ultimately we've just not seen the best of them over the first sort of 6 games we saw yesterday. And so hopefully now this is the boost they need, the momentum they need to know. Even in situations where the off-spawn at Wonky is still a bit messy and we're still stuck in stagnating fighting there, we can have end games like that to make up for it.
Well, they're currently 6th on the leaderboard. They are 219 points behind our leaders, Sky and Skrull. We'll get to see if they can make even more gains in our next game after the break.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
2 teammates have his back. Where's Nash? Gets the drop on the Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting up Vanya. 3v1.
I got hit. I'm popping a med bit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds. No, maxed up. Wait, if you're mid, wait. 100. 100. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
and I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk? Stay there.
Welcome back to FNCS Europe. It's the Major 1 finals, and there's just 4 more games until we crown our first winners of the year. And Levin, it's really heating up on the leaderboard right now, and there's one duo who remain confident as ever, and that is Sky and Scroll. They have the highest elims and highest average placement as well. So this is a team that's not just playing it safe.
No, and they, again, continue to showcase the issue that anyone else in this lobby is going to have when trying to catch up with them, Mini. How do you stop a team that is just going to keep getting these top 5s, keep getting deep into these end games, and in many cases now as well, are going to be out-fragging you in these end games as well, right? This game was a second place 8 elim game where, you know, what do you do to catch up? I mean, it is so difficult. They just really have a lock on the low ground. Nobody seems to be able to play it better than them right now in EU, and I don't see that changing in the next 4 games.
It's really nice to see them playing the low ground so well as well. It's nice to see a team have an identity. I feel like it's not something that we've associated with teams necessarily previously as much, or at least not as obviously as we can see right here with Sky and Scroll. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's so difficult to catch up to them because they're just covering all bases so well. They're finding eliminations whilst being super consistent. And for teams that are trying to catch them up, Chino and Pablo, Focus and Thomas HD, what do you actually do? Of course, weren't able to win this game, but again, another unfavorable zone. Maybe our hair will be grey by the time we get a West zone this weekend, but it's just going to be unstoppable for them. And they've nearly sort of brought back that sort of 90-point gap as well. What is that? Is that like 80 points? Unbelievable right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable from these guys. It's 82 points, I believe, if I've done the maths right. So it is a stunning performance from these guys. And the thing is, sometimes with Joes, we'd be questioning, we'd be going, well, are they able to maintain this lead? But with Sky and Scroll, it's almost guaranteed that they're going to increase it. But it's not guaranteed for Pablo and Chino that they are going to be able to maintain the distance between second and third mini-minor.
Yeah, they've still been doing very good though. I mean, it's a nice end game for them. They managed to pick up a couple of eliminations here as well. Again, the zone right on their drop spot at Sandy's Strip, of course. But this is exactly what we expect to see from these guys, taking advantage of these zones. Because yes, I'm sure we will get a different sort of zone soon, but they need to make the most of it when they're still getting the zones right now, and they did so very well here.
Yeah, I mean, somebody clearly out there really wants us to have a close finish here in some degree, right? Because these guys are going to continue to get those beneficial zones, but they play them well. And so I know people will banter them and say, oh, you guys had all the zones, whatever. They're playing them well. There's other players who are getting favorable zones, ain't doing anything similar to what these guys are able to produce.
And Sure4 and Repairs, it almost looked like they were going to reproduce a victory royale, Levin. I'm so impressed by the way that these guys are stepping things up on day 2.
Absolutely. Again, the theme of this season has been what? It's been these newer names, these newer talents, people who you maybe weren't expecting to pop off and showcase what they can do. And I think these guys exemplify that excellently, right? This moment here between Chino and Repairs, it was like, who's going to get the jump? You usually expect the person with the right-hand peak there to win, but Repairs, again, showcasing just why they have been so formidable across these 2 days so far. I'm very excited. Again, I'm very excited to see, sort of what the limit is for these guys. At the end of the day, we're going to expect to see these guys at this point now make it to the Summit LAN. Will they be able to replicate this performance and surprise some of the best players in other regions over the course of those games?
Well, listen, it's time for Legends Watch because Swizzy and Pixie, they made it to a couple of endgames now back-to-back. The question is, were they good enough endgames to move them substantially up the leaderboard? They've not made it into the top 20 yet, but on page 3, you can see them there up a whopping 14 places, 25. Now, Düsseldorf is looking like a reality, Levin.
Yes, and this is the thing. When you have elite players, and that's what these guys are, regardless of what we saw yesterday, when you have elite players, you can't count them out. I love the approach they've taken to today's off spawns mini, where yesterday they lost a couple of spawns, you know, at Dark Dominion, and so they decided, okay, we're gonna just try and split it, and then that's where they ran into more problems. Today, they've just been taking the fight off spawn. They're just like, no, we're gonna fight you guys. We're gonna take the fight, truly Gonzo, whatever you guys wanna do, we will fight you, no problems asked. They've been winning the fights, even in that last game, right? They ended up with what, a really good game, where the start of the game was actually rough because they have to reboot Pixie. Then when Pixie gets rebooted, other teams come in, third party them, Pixie goes down again, he gets rebooted again, and they're still able to have a good game. And so that shows you that they've come into today completely changed, completely renewed, and they're gonna be a threat for the rest of the day.
Levin, who's coaching these guys at the moment?
Not sure, can't remember.
They need like a motivational voice in their ear to remind them they are literally the #1 and #2 placing players at the global championships from last year. Because Miniminders, sometimes I'm thinking maybe it's just their confidence that's not there. They just need a reminder of the fact that they're 2 of the best fraggers in Europe.
Yeah, potentially. I think day one yesterday was a big shock to them. And what I've always said in Fortnite is the best teams will play well on day one, but the better teams will VOD and do even better on day 2. And that's what these guys are sort of epitomizing right now. You can see them. They went back in replays last night. They looked at what went wrong. They didn't try to change too much on day one. They tried to stick to their guns. Didn't work out. Now today, things have shifted. They're changing up their game plan. And I'm looking at their placements, 8th and then a 4th. They didn't get a top 10 yesterday. Not just that, they didn't get a top 35 yesterday. Their best placement was a 35th. So it's like they completely flipped the script on what they were performing like, and now they're in 25th. So that's going to be huge for them, hopefully qualifying here through here.
I'd like to say the only way is up, but nothing is guaranteed in Fortnite. Let's head over to Taco and Takata for game number 9.
Look, Swizzy and Pixie knew that they were in for a grueling battle here today, Takata, but it is their last chance to try and overcome the odds and see if they can put themselves into a position where they are just inside of that top 20 qual metric for the Major 1 Summit LAN.
Yep, game 1, they got 48 points. Game 2, they got 76 points. And what they needed today was an average of 50 points every single game. Now, if they get very big point games, obviously that average can go down. Having a 76-point game in the 8th match, I'm liking how things are looking, but it can change depending on how that off spawn goes. But for Shark and Teeny, it is looking brighter and brighter. A massive win, 12 eliminations. Let's see if that changes the confidence for them in the early game. The next game, number 9, is ready to go.
And just general overview right now. You can see the bus path transcending downwards. Wonky Land. While we haven't seen that immediate 50-50 off spawn so far here today, with Shark and Teeny's last victory royale in game number 8, it would not surprise me in the slightest to see them maybe offer a little bit more aggression earlier on, but for right now, northern directions for Teeny. He's actually opted to take control of this like little castle area just north of the BOI, and Shark also a little bit deeper north. Maybe their concern is we saw Twek kind of poking his head on over from Wonky from Toy Box Talk, so that could be a big part of the reason why. But Swizzy, 1 elimination already, and we get a chance to revisit what went wrong here for Truly. Just a really proactive elim there out of Swizzy, and like the desk already touched on, they just decided, you know what, it's our turn to actually just start throwing punches. And I feel like for Truly and Gonzo, they're just like, wait, hold up, timeout. When did you guys start punching back?
Yeah, it's already 4 teams though at Dark Dominion, so we'll see how it continues as Nebs and Nathan had a very big game to kick off the day, but then fell short in the next match, 47th place, and now we're here. Game 9, 3rd match of the day, and Nebs and Nathan once again back-to-back getting eliminated off spawn, coming from an 11 elimination second. This is not what you want to see, but something you do like seeing. It's Shark Teeny playing aggressive. Huddy Fishy have to lock in here.
But right now, Huddy and Fishy do have a little bit better control over the vending machines, but for how long can they actually keep Shark and Teeny out? Huddy looking to see if he can break some of their walls from a different angle. Fishy does get a nice shot onto Shark. That's going to drop him incredibly low. Shark have to wait and see. Fortunately, they do have splashes to work with. Teeny also, I believe he just split some of his mats there. So Huddy, Fishy, trying to gather up whatever else they might be able to use here to put themselves into a winning position. But Shark, Teeny, you can tell just how hungry they are for this exchange. They want to wipe out Huddy and Fishy, and they might be able to do it. Huddy, though, doing a great job pulling back Fishy, actually forcing Shark to wait despite taking a big chunk out of Huddy's HP. He's not going to be able to close in fully just because of the backup from Fishy. But I might have spoken too soon. Teeny with a different angle. He brings down Huddy, who was already so incredibly low. Now it's all about collapsing onto Fishy, but Fishy making sure it's not easy. It doesn't matter though. Jaws theme song in real life here. Shark and Teeny kicking Huddy and Fishy back to the battle bus. They were already in 19th place heading into this leaderboard, and that's bound to drop even further outside of that land qual.
Instant change in confidence coming through that win. You could tell it was looking a little iffy starting off the day of them being outside of qualifying range to Dusseldorf. They quickly pushed themselves up into top 15, and now after that win, they are back in business. This is the Shark and Teeny we were expecting in the major finals after an underperformance in day one. Now they're back in action. Huddy Fishy actually completely ran out of mats in that engagement, so they were constantly applying pressure. Pablo and Chino now, they are still in second place. They've gotten top 10 in every match today, but we know that they want that first place.
Of course, hungry for yet another FNCS title. Chino and Pablo. They're gonna set up. They've got a line of sight onto Aza and Ifrozi. They are gonna take their opportunity to get at least one tag in, but there is, of course, always action taking place elsewhere on the map. And Zany, look at this setup. Hydro and Keto just shut down. They've been lords of the tunnels for the most part, hanging out by North Dominion and other teams. When they hit those VODs, when they hit the replays, Takata, they're bound to catch wind of what's actually taking place and do their own sort of ambush maneuvers. And that's exactly the kind of thing that I think even the most experienced teams would still struggle with here today.
Scary place to be in. Swizzy and Pixie felt it firsthand yesterday, but going a lot better today. Thomas HC and Focus. It wasn't a terrible match, but it wasn't what they needed to get what they truly want. The first place finish, 15th to Elims. Now here in the 9th match, I believe it was a mix of kind of a rotate where Thomas got caught off guard by Sayaz, and then also just being a little low on Surge. It's just so difficult when even the most experienced players in the lobby cannot handle this net Surge.
Big contributing factor to that is just knowing every single duo out here is trying to reevaluate, figure out what sort of strategy do we need to do to put ourselves in the best position to be above that Surge metric. Vico Malabuca. Well, we have seen glimpses of greatness from this duo. For the most part, it has been relatively quiet, and they've done a decent job at least remaining inside of that top 10 portion of the leaderboard, but it's just one of those instances where you're kind of just waiting for like the what next factor. You're waiting to see the big pop off really from that team.
Moneymaker for 9. Sit in 31st right now. I mean, 128 points. They're actually not too far from top 20. They would need a big game. But these early game fights, they mean so much. You just cannot go down here.
Faded and Khan. Not sure if the intention was to go for an ambush here against iDrop and Medius, but iDrop and Medius have been pretty much unconned at Latte this entire series so far. And after the day one performance didn't exactly go how they would have pictured it or preferred it to, I'm almost much more inclined to believe that there's going to be duos like Faded and Khan and whatnot that opt to maybe try and throw themselves into Latte's potential area to contest. Deemish Darm, though, doing more of the same of what they've been after. Started the first couple of lobbies here today, checking out the eastern section of the map, and now they're back out west. Pretty familiar sightseeing, though, for these two, given that their original starting point had been Tip Top Terrace once upon a time before the map shifted a bit, and now, without a set drop, they're really just, I wouldn't call them scavengers, because I do think that they do a pretty solid job at cleaning up the teams that they fight and extending their own positions for rotations and whatnot in a game. But it is scary when you have a team that's just vaguely rolling around the map and you're not really sure where they're going to be next.
I'm kind of wondering why they switched, though. They got 5th place, 8 elims in the last match, 6 elims 15th in the match before that. Like, it's not like it was going too bad against Zot and Ifrozy, but you know, they're just continuing with their rhythm, so we'll see how it does play out. I mean, they're both up right now, so it didn't go terribly wrong either. Kamihari, very rough start the day. Currently in 18th place. They went down 29th, 25th. Not the matches that you would have liked to see from this duo. We saw them have some pretty big ones yesterday, so hopefully they can make a change here.
No Rally and Reason, another one of our duos, though. All day yesterday, they were having to deal with a pretty set 50-50 all-spawn fight. But the scenes have shifted a bit for this duo here today. It's one thing, though, to make it to the end game. It's another to convert that end game into a performance that would net you points inside of the leaderboard for that top 20 position at Summit 1 LAN. Tilio and Shakos, though, I don't think they know what's coming next. This is starting to get real spooky. Darm and Deemish, very content right now over by Tree Chop Timber Mill. They're healing up. Got the vending machines. Afford to expend a little bit more time here, but Shakos and Tilio will catch wind of this duo the moment that they mosey on out of the buildings here. And it's not just one, but potentially even another duo. Thought another team might have had an angle in onto this engagement, but instead, Shakos, Tilio, they got what they were after. The tags, they want to keep moving forward.
Sky Scroll, almost 100 points ahead. A little less against Chino Pablo. They're just continuing to kind of slowly increase that gap as the matches go on. And the issue is I don't really see them slowing down. It's almost the opposite. They kicked it off with a 7th 4 elims and then a second 8 elims. They're just doing better and better. We'll see if that continues as Kamihari now have picked up a couple eliminations. Things are starting to look brighter for this duo today.
But they still got a long ways to go here, Takata. The big thing to keep in mind is that a lot of our teams that are in that top portion of the leaderboard, what they've been doing is having at least 1 or 2 games, netting high eliminations, netting strong placement. So it's gonna be a lot more than just the offhand elimination or 2. A lot of these duos that are outside of that top 5 territory, they're gonna need to start pulling in 6-7 eliminations per game, strong placement finishes, and it's always easier said than done. But for Pablo and Chino, this is, they are eating good right now at Sandy Strip.
Yeah, they are having a great time. Almost too much. Like, what do we do with all this? We'll see how the zones end up closing out, but Thomas focus. It was a rough late game rotate. I'm glad to see the amount of damage they've got so far, though. Scavenging through Battlewood Boulevard. And again, kind of in the south side of the zone.
It's crazy that there's still some goodies left over. Even though Sky and Scroll, that's their initial starting point, but makes sense. One duo can only carry so much. Thomas and Focus, they're really just trying to be wary. I'm certain that they're fully aware of that hill that Sky and Scroll like to take claims over, Surge base on. And it's going to be difficult to avoid their line of sight, but where there's a will, there's a way. Vika Malabuka, ready to get going. Want to try and avoid any congestion wherever possible. Probably one of their healthiest Surge metrics that we've seen so far here today, but Fnatic and Moneymaker could be a thorn in the side here if they actually choose to try and force this battle up against Malabuka and Vika. You never know what duos might be a little bit more desperate for some of that Surge.
Yeah, this was the main duo I was talking about when I said, you know, EU Titans actually struggling with net Surge. It was Malabuka Vico in the last match, and when you're 460 above, you do not want to risk getting tagged in these fights right now. They do not need it. So I'm glad that they're focusing on the rotate here. Syaz, Scary. It's about time for them to have a big match if they want to keep up the expectations going into today. I guess the performance that they had yesterday, expectations are a little mixed. 24 points so far. Let's see if they can get a big one.
Well, first we got to see what Zany and Burke decide to do. They've been waiting things out. Thought for a moment that they were going to choose to pop out. The Scary and Syaz rolled on by, but not the intentions, not just yet. Jen isn't cheating. Decent spot on the edge of zone. They're just trying to scope out, see if there's any teams. Even edit open a little bit too long, maybe that they can take advantage of, but at least for right now, they're gonna avoid most of the lobby focus.
Dark Team 281 above. We saw them get the 2 eliminations off spawn on Huddy Fishy. And they have a very good amount of mats, actually. They can pull some zones here. This could be another very big match for them. If anyone's capable of a back-to-back win, it's going to be Shark and Teeny.
And when you compare, though, both sides of the zone, Kira, Karama just under so much duress right now. Pixie, Swizzy just going to take advantage of the circumstance. Big eliminations here for these two. Another one of our duos that they need every single point they can get. 25th. And we never said it was impossible for them to come back, but they are playing with new life right now here today, Takada.
Yeah.
And in this 9th lobby, this is where a lot of that willpower is truly going to be tested. Because they can convert this into a great endgame finish, and it starts with just 1 more elimination, 4 more points added to the count. Every little bit just kind of sending a new little bit of revival into this duo. New hopes, too. They might actually just squeeze in for that land qual, and that we won't have to sit out our Major 1 Summit LAN. We'll have at least 1 out of 3 representatives from that global championship team.
From 47th place to 25th today, the issue is, despite these consistent performances, the job's not done. They need to continue having these matches every single game, but be careful. Teeny's actually been knocked if you look at the bottom left. What has gone wrong? Hopefully Shark here is able to pick him up, as it doesn't seem like anybody is actually pushing them.
Look, don't get me wrong, Shark and Teeny, they might have had a lot of materials, they might have had a decent amount of heals there, Takada, but their positioning was a little bit scuffed. They were kind of sandwiched between 2 separate teams, Hardcore and Kira at one point. I believe when they made that initial rotation, they're kind of forced to shift towards lower elevation. Now boxed up right next to Aza and Ifrozi. We've already seen Aza pop off once here today. So even contenders like Shark and Teeny, you've gotta be wary that where they actually want to duke things out. Tom is focused, 210 above. Probably one of the most favorable zones that they're going to get. And now, Thomas, so confident in Boop Chat yesterday after the fact. Levin already highlighted it. Just give me zones, and I will show you a champion performance. We'll wait to see just how he intends on delivering. Might have to deal with iDrop and Medius nearby, though. But Thomas, focus, patient, scheming, that's for sure.
To be fair, this is one of the better kind of surge they've had. I'm hoping that Overdrive didn't go too wrong, but Sharktini, they are so good at getting refreshes when they need it most, but it was even a refresh onto Syaz and Scary. our now 5th place team. They are not having a fun day, but on the contrary, Shark and Teeny, they're now back in business.
Yeah, that Spanish flame, unfortunately, seems like it's sort of sizzling out right now as Scroll, Sky, 343 above, taking shots back. The rest of the lobby sort of funneling in towards their direction. Won't be able to get the pre-dead just then onto Dinas and Fernek. Escape by directly underneath them, but when you are this set on Surge, you can still take your time, pick your moments when you want to strike next. Thomas Focus might be in a little bit of a stir here right now. Shakos nearby. They're gonna drop their pizza box. Tom's gonna carry some of those slices, but Focus definitely wanted to heal up a bit. Flowberry Mist Grenade too, and you have to remember, anytime these Flowberry and Mist Clouds are seen, teams on height, bound to start looking, trying applying pressure into those areas. Minori, if he's not careful, he might get sandwiched in between Shark, Teeny, Focus, Thomas, but so many teams collecting their own fair share of eliminations here, and Pablo making it look too easy. Werex, no idea what happened next there. The pre-edit just too powerful.
Pablo Chino, they've gotten top 10 in the last 2 matches, but it's still not enough when you're competing against Sky Scroll. It's just so difficult to push them out of the first place spot. You mentioned it, Taco. Thomas HD Focus said, give us zones. We won't disappoint. Well, let's see it happen here as Sky and Scroll pick up an elimination. And now focus on making it towards zone.
And with Sky Scroll applying that kind of pressure too, it puts out the warning signs for everybody else in the lobby. They start closing off their walls, they start boxing up, so that makes it feasible for them to just rotate so freely off that overdrive grenade. But look at the high ground. Swizzy, Pixie, they've actually managed to escalate themselves up. Cheat and Giannis, when it looked like it might be theirs for a moment, now they'll be forced to just sit in that secondary height position instead. But how much pressure can Swizzy and Pixie truly apply here? They've got their work cut out for them. Teeny, though, he's taking a tumble. Shark left as a solo here. Front side of zone at the very least, but still so much to deal with. So many other teams looking to try and cut him off along the way.
Repairs also got cracked now. Sure, trying to figure out which way he even wants to go. They are not grouped up here, but a refresh is going to come through. Focus, though, has to be on getting to zone. Thomas HD and Focus. Good synergy here. Both players looking healthy. Issue is running low on mats. They will need to pick up some eliminations shortly. Sky Scroll, though, still have good mats. But you got to be careful, Scroll, as he gets cracked. Is going to be able to group up, though. Pizza put down, and now should be able to heal.
But that forced halt, that temporary time lost, that could ultimately be the seconds that make the difference. Pullback gonna help Shark out just a little bit here. Stuck inside of his own wooden cone, waiting to see who he can actually try and close in on. Repairs. They had to work to get into their position in the first place on the leaderboard. And now it's looking like this lobby might be working against them. But Shark knock onto Pablo. Chino, he might just be able to see if he can turn this one around, but no, he'll have to abandon Pablo. Not going to be able to actually opt for that revive. Shark knows it's only a matter of time before the siphon comes into play for him. He's going to wrap around, take advantage of it, but you can tell already the storm sickness is a problem here right now for Shark. He can't afford to tank up any more ticks of zone. He's gonna have to hope that Volko doesn't realize on the other side of the wall. He still has no materials left to work with. Gino with another elimination though. 8 builds. Overdrive grenade effect. Only 1 left though for mobility. This is looking like a tough one to close out.
A lot of solos. Pablo was forced to clutch it out. In the last match now, it's all up to Chino. He's got 3 on the board, but it looks like he's gonna have to rotate up a hill. Has to break through builds. It's getting a little messy. Down below, will he be able to find a way out and even finds an elimination alongside it? Sky, we've seen your solo clutch potential. You now have another shot to do it.
Just lurking around. He is going to find a big shot that's going to connect all of those goodies. An ultimate low here. It's familiar territory, but look at Swizzy and Pixie. We knew they needed to have a monumental day here, and they are making sure to do everything in their power to find it. Malibuca, Vico, also another team looking to try and see if they can pick off Sky. Pressure from above, pressure from below, and Sky Scroll, they are out of this one. But Chino still trekking through, still breaking all of these pre-existing builds. Front side for now, hoping that he can stay concealed away from the team on height. But you never know, the moment that he drops, Ultimate low, currently controlled. Vico and Malabuka are the ones looking to try and cut some players off here. Vico with that mythic Chaos too. Swizzy, Pixie, they're just trying to keep their distance for the time being. But Volko, Cringe, they're gonna head straight into where Vico Mally just dropped into, but Vico gets the better end of the exchange. Both Cringe so incredibly low, they're not gonna be able to withstand the pressure here. Mally and Vico with just another extension of builds and materials to work with.
This is the first match today that Vico and Malabuka have gotten into top 10, and they are not disappointing. Chino with a big shot connecting as well. 12 HP is all that's left. He's going to be forced to drop down. Issue is, the team up above, they're going to capitalize on that. It might be just up to Swizzy. Pixie is out of shield. He's out of HP, but we've got our global champion. Show us what it takes. It might just be 6 pizza slices. Malabuka, are you going to be able to out-heal it?
It's the vending machine. That's where Swizzy was headed. He wants to make it to the vending, the patch-ups, the pizza. It's the perfect recipe for success here right now. Vico is hunting. Malabuka is hoping that they find it, but it's no good. Swizzy and Pixie, they have really seemed to have found a lot of momentum here today at Takata, and this Victory Royale should push them into that top 20 position.
47th place going into today, and now I want to see where that is. Rank 11 Mini, what a match.
This is the duo we were looking to in the pre-show. We knew that they needed to have at least 5 fantastic endgames to be in with a shot of making it to LAN, but now Mini Miner, it's looking like top 10 could become a reality.
What a performance from these guys today. This is just completely different. It's the other end of the stick to what we saw yesterday. Not only are they making those end games consistently now, not only have they fixed their off-spawn, now they've found the winning formula here as well. And what a lovely clutch there at the end from Swizzy to make it happen with the vending machine. I always like little plays like that, doing something a little bit different. But wow, this is a huge comeback. And I was saying in the back, if this is to be like a top 5 maybe for this team, is this maybe the best FNCS Grand Finals comeback ever? I can't think of a better one.
Well, one of the better ones, right? I remember Andalex had a really crazy one way back in the day that people always go on about. At the end of the day, Takata said they were 47th yesterday. So far today, they've been the #1 team, right? They've accrued the most points, or tied at least with Shawful and Repairs as far as day 2 is concerned. And the reality is that is the type of turnaround they needed to have with how terribly things were looking for them as far as summit qualification goes. And it's good to see, you know, both of them sort of, you know, have their impact on this game. Swizzy at the end holding down the fort. Pixie, I know a lot of people are looking at Pixie's numbers so far in the tournament and wondering when he's going to start to show us the Pixie we saw a lot of last year. And so it was good to see him again have a couple of eliminations alongside Swizzy. These guys are heating up and they're going to continue to rise in these standings.
Well, these are 2 of the best players we've ever seen on LAN as well. So everyone who's watching, we want these guys in the top 20, and we'll see if they can sustain. They just need a couple of really banging end games to make it. So let's head to a break. We'll see you in a few.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
2 teammates have his back. Where's Nash? Gets the drop on Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting up Vanya. 3v1.
I'll go here. I'll go. I'm popping in that bit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you're mid, wait. 100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk? Stay there.
We are about to enter the final quarter of the Major 1 finals in Europe, and it might not be all change at the very top of the leaderboard, but things are starting to shuffle around in that top 20, and that's where our eyes have to be on because of qualification for the Major 1 Summit in Düsseldorf. So if you look to the big names on the board, Dharm and Demas, they did not have a great start yesterday, but a few great early games has managed to take them into top 10 contention, and you can see there in 16th, Swizzy and Pixie, after that victory royale that they desperately needed in our last game, Mini Minor, they are now in contention. We could be seeing them on land, which we didn't expect yesterday.
Really big from these guys. It's actually nice not to have to scroll down all the way on the leaderboard to be able to see them. We only need to, we might not have to after this next game, who knows? But yeah, really nice to see these guys rising up the standings. We all knew it was potential. We all knew they had the potential for it. It was almost like a what the heck yesterday? What's going on here? Really shocking. They fixed a lot of their mistakes and of course now found that winning formula as well. Really happy for these guys. And actually, hopefully they'll make land because they're a team that you want to see on land and you know they're going to perform.
Well, let's take another look at the leaderboard, because that was surely a Focus and Thomas zone. They've been asking for this. They've surely been sending nice messages to Zeke, and yet they are in 4th now. They've actually been overtaken by Shawfall and Repairs, who are my favorite revelation of day 2, Levin.
Yeah, again, we keep talking about them, but because they keep on surprising us, not the best of their game so far today, right? A 10th place, you know, a bit more quiet in comparison, but they still showcase part of why, again, they are going to be a threat in this lobby, and that is they can still make it to these end games, they can still get deep into them and get enough placement points to just keep them ticking along in that top 5. And in this case, because of, you know, Focus and Thomas probably having one of their worst games of the weekend, they are even able to move up a spot as well. So really impressed by these guys still.
Yeah, we haven't really seen them in this position before, right? This is a completely new situation for them to be in terms of the leaderboard. So excited to see what they can actually do in under these circumstances. 3 more games left for them. That was a little bit more favorable zone for them as well. A little bit further south, we saw it end there. And of course, Battlewood Boulevard. So, you know, it's kind of answered a couple of our questions about maybe this is a zone thing. Because even for Thomas HD, a little bit closer, worse performance. Ooh, what's that going to mean for the rest of the games? Who knows?
Guys, I hate to be so dramatic, but that was a terrible game for Sky and Scroll. They only got 8th Mini Minor.
Oh, it's just not good enough, is it, really? Pack it in, pack it in. No, it's nice. It's good to see these guys still performing well, even when they're not doing what we know they can do. But again, it's just another consistent end game. I feel like we could sort of cookie cutter every single time we come out of one of these games and talk about them. Nicely done from these guys again. Nicely done on these pre-edits as well. It's nice to see teams still using those to their advantage. And a favorable zone for them, 11, with the fact that it pulled right towards Battlewood Boulevard answers that question of what happens if they do get more favorable zone. They're still popping off.
Yeah, these guys, I'm not worried about them at all, right? A top 5 is exactly what they've been doing all weekend long. They get another top 5 there. A bit unfortunate, right, with the overdrive, with how Swizzy and Pixie were so active. Sky ends up just getting beamed from above. Honestly, I was hoping he'd be able to even stay alive and maybe squeeze out a couple extra bits of placement. But this is the thing, it's a relentless tournament, because even with how good they are, they must be getting frustrated at the fact that Chino and Pablo just refuse to fall off, right? They refuse to allow this tournament to just pass them by, and so they continue to be a threat in this one. We questioned whether or not they'd be, able to continue these types of performances when Zone isn't pulling directly on their POI. They must have just shut everyone up there right now, because this was still the type of game we've been seeing from them all weekend long, Minnie.
Yeah, lovely to see. They're outperforming Sky and Scroll in that last game. That's exactly what they need to do, finding eliminations along the way as well, which is exactly what we know that they can do. And they just got to keep chipping away now. They can't get too ahead of themselves. They got to keep chipping away, because we saw it yesterday. We saw Sky and Scroll did have a little bit of a wobble. It was their last game of the day yesterday. They are prone to it. They're not absolutely immune to having a bad game. So Chino and Pablo have got to just keep themselves calm, keep themselves in these end games, and keep finding these top threes like they have been, because it's been really good so far.
And
Yeah,
big
some
up to Chino there.
interesting-
Just
yeah.
because, you know, we all highlight, you know, how amazing Pablo is as a solo clutcher. Chino really pulling out some of his best stuff there, able to get a top 3 from that situation.
Yeah, 62 points difference between first and second right now. It really is another battle of the days. I feel like we're so used to them now in FNCS. But also, when you look at the numbers, average eliminations for Sky and Scroll, 4.89. Chino and Pablo, it's only 4.11. I say only, it's not much of a distance, 4.11. It's very similar when it comes to average placement as well. There is like not of a percentage. I'm very bad at maths, as you can tell. I should not be doing this on the broadcast. But basically, what I'm trying to say is it's a very slim difference between these two teams, and the next game could make all the difference. So let's head into game number 10 with Taco and Takata.
Thank you, Frankie. It must be difficult. Pablo Chino getting top 10 every single game today, and it's still not enough. But I also want to think back down to top 20. Putty Fishy now in 21st place. They've swapped again with Sharkantini. Well, Sharkantini swapped way higher up than they have, unfortunately, but they are where Sharkantini started off today in. We also have Noah Riley and Reason, a duo that I'd like to see at the Summit 1 LAN in Germany. Hopefully they can make something happen here. Even Chap Flixie are in 17th. Azat Ifrozi. We've got so many of these big duos that are just right on that cutoff, and we're getting closer and closer, Taco, to the end.
Yeah, and right now it's all about what's going to happen next, because game 10 is ready to go. Like you'd already kind of alluded to there, Takata, we are seeing some of those slight movements, a little bit of shuffling in the leaderboard. Top 20, obviously always going to be the prize for every single one of these duos, but it's also more than that. Right now, we are looking for a Major 1 Victory Royale wielder, and I think it's only a matter of time before we have to decide between Sky Scroll, Pablo Chino. Before that, Pixie, Swizzy, just looking to wipe out Dark Dominion. They've been very aggressive up against Truly and Gonzo. So many people were so surprised at the way that this conversation had kind of gone yesterday. But Swizzy and Pixie, they have really just turned things around.
Gotta be careful though. Swizzy has been cracked. Pixie's gonna have to rack up his eliminations here. Good news is they are together. They got the initial knock, and Gonzo now gonna do what he can to bring Truly back. He should actually have time, so we'll see how this one closes out.
Just took Swizzy a couple more moments longer than what he would have liked, but Pixie's still able to open up with a separate angle here.
Oh.
Truly does take a big chunk, but it's just not good enough. Swizzy and Pixie might have taken them a couple moments longer, but they still managed to close things out. Ziffy and Jerdy, though, already looking to try and capitalize. They don't want to give Pixie and Swizzy an opportunity to sort of heal back up, but a couple seconds sooner, maybe that goes in Ziffy's favor. Right now, though, that won't be the case. Nebs, Nathan, they have to do the same sort of 180. Those last couple of lobbies really working against him, and Nebs goes down. Nathan fighting for his life, but it is another wipeout here at Humble Hills. Xteri and Adapted are just absolutely ruining Nebs and Nathan's position on the leaderboard right now.
47th game 1 today. 48th, the second match, and then now once again off spawn. We're in game 10 out of 12, combining both days, and I mean, with just 2 matches left, I mean, Nebs and Nathan were 11th going into this, so they're still in qualifying range, but they were contenders, not only top 5, to be even top 3 or higher, and now they're just dropping lower and lower. But, I mean, once they make it off spawn, they have had some very incredible performances, so with 2 opportunities left, I'm hoping that they can make it happen.
It's unfortunately just seeming a little bit more like what would happen to them in some of those Div Cup finals during the offseason. You know, they get off to... They know how to be consistent. That's where it hurts with Nebs and Nathan. It's that they're obviously good players at holding their own and finding solid placements, but gotta make sure that you're doing it for every single lobby from this point out. Top 10, there's obviously some pretty big changes when it comes to the prize pool overall. It's not just the Axe of Champions that's up for grabs here, after all.
Pico Malabuca just 1 point behind Thomas HD and Focus now. At 374 going into the match. They had a very big game. Issue is, before that, they were struggling with Surge, so I mean, we'll see where the zone pulls. We'll see how they play it out. But they've been keeping up the pace.
Well, look, when you think about the point disparity between Pablo, Gino, Sky, Scroll, it's still within striking range. 62 points is what separates those two right now. But what I'm really wondering is whether Sky and Scroll can anticipate just being able to make the same plays they've been doing. No one's really bothered intervening with their usual Surge base. Sky already, it's like second nature to him at this point. Take over this hill, just a little bit north of Battlewood Boulevard, and wait to see how many tanks you can collect after that. But Keto and Hydro probably able to see Scroll tossing out all of these essential items, heals he's picking up. And what they're really waiting for is just that ambush, the sneak opportunities. They know that these two players are separated, and what I was going to ask Takata is, if you're Pablo Chino, do you play for big eliminations, or do you play to try and take Sky Scroll out early? Because I think that's the only way that we're going to see somebody overthrow them in first place. They've got to go down sooner than what they have been. Otherwise, they're going to make it into the top 10 every endgame.
We've seen it historically. We've seen it at LANs. We've seen it on different regions. It's always risky to do a drop spot change, but that's not the only option. If you want to take out one of the top teams earlier on, they know the side of the map they drop at. They could take a fight. I think in terms of being on game 10, you don't make any of those risky changes yet. You play this match out, you see how it goes. I mean, they've made top 10 every game. Like you said, Sky Scroll have not only made top 10 every game as well. Yesterday, they held the consistency throughout the whole day. You kind of hope something changes here, but it is not the best position to be in, considering, you know, Pablo Chino won that #1 spot. You can see the exact point difference there at the top right. First and second, they are just leading the pack.
It's definitely pretty neck and neck between the top two right now on the leaderboard, but that's not to say we saw Sharkantini already have a crazy point jump off of just one Victory Royale placement. And that's the same thing that a duo like Thomas and Focus is going to have to replicate. They've had a really rough time with trying to pull things into their favor. They haven't done poorly throughout this weekend by any means. They have definitely been able to convert some solid endgame placement finishes. It's just, they're going to need more than that. It can't just be good. It has to be great every single time from this point on if they want to find themselves in a realistic conversation for bringing home the Axe Champions.
Size and Scary have not matched their performance from yesterday. There's good news and bad news on this one. I mean, they've done so well in day one that they're still pretty comfortably in the qualifying range for the Summit 1 LAN, but they want more than that. They want to prove that they are a top team. And we've seen how quickly you could jump up the standings with big matches. Swizzy has done it. But Sias and Scary, we're going to need another pop-off match here today for them to come back.
But for a team like Size and Sketty, these are both players that have been around the scene for a decent amount of time. They're not new to this, but at the same time, you could argue that they were definitely new to being one of the leading teams in a Major 1 Grand Finals leaderboard, Takata. And so how do you think that that's kind of impacted their performance here today? Because you would think, hey, maybe they can run it back, but that just has not been the case.
The thing is, they were playing incredibly well yesterday. They were playing incredibly confident, and I don't even think it was nerves. I don't think it was pressure. It was literally that one fight to kick off the day has kind of set the tone. The remainder of their matches, I'm not sure if it's a mental thing. I'm not sure what's causing them to struggle so much, but ever since the start of the day, it's just been downhill. I don't know. They need something big to kind of fuel themselves up again. Get that motivation, that confidence back from what we saw yesterday. But Kaido Haijo, they're going for the play. They're trying to catch Sky Scroll, our top team, off guard. Sky gets fully cracked now, down to 46 HP. Taco, this could be the change that we've been looking for the Major 1 finals.
Oh, Kito's chasing, Haijo's chasing. They don't want to let Sky get away. He's trying to see where he can escape to. And just based off that red hand signal, he's heading straight deeper into the storm. Scroll trying to see if he can play catch up, but this is a tough position now. Kito and Haijo, how badly do you want it? Because for Sky and Scroll, and this is definitely going to put a huge hiccup into their overall game strategy. They might be looking to see what else they could steal from inside of this Surge base, knowing that there's got to be some white heals possibly stuck left waiting, but no, Scroll! That
Where
was
did
the
the pizza
intent!
go?
He just stole everything. He took all of the white heals with him. And for Kito and Haijo, this is just completely blown up in their face. They needed to get that elimination. And just missing out is not going to put them in a position to where it might be difficult for them to even escape Battlewood Boulevard in the first place.
Yeah, the reverse heist from Scroll. Just taking the pizza, taking all the whites. Yeah, you can see it happen right here.
Splashes.
It was yeah, everything. They had medkit, splash, and pizza. He just threw it all. That's a little hiccup for Sky and Scroll, but I mean, to be fair, seeing that both players are still up, it should be a pretty easy regroup, and they can continue on forwards.
But now they're going to have to think about it for the rest of the lobbies if that's going to happen again. Teeny trying to see what else he can pop off with. Tweg, first elimination going to be confirmed here. Shark looking for the secondary one, and yeah, no problem whatsoever following up on his duo's aggression. So a good, solid couple of eliminations to kick things off here in Game 10, but now kind of trailing back on over Pablo Chino. We saw them sort of leaving Sandy Strip pretty early on, and they've made sure to head a little bit further north. They're in a box. Solid spot, though, for the time being.
Got a zone pulling more north here. I'm thinking of Chap and Flixie right now. They have been kind of dropped down to 17th place on the leaderboard. They're just on the cutoff. Hoping we see them later on have a solid match here. They've been given the opportunity. Pablo Chino, though, looking healthy, obviously, despite having to rotate a little further than usual.
Oh, man. It just keeps getting worse, though. Over by Battlewood Boulevard. Sky trying to make his way on over. Kito and Haijo punished very heavily for their failed execution of that sneak play onto Sky. The bigger problem now to contend with, though, is that Belugi and Zangi are just hanging out nearby, and that's going to make it so problematic for either of these duos to kind of leave the area. I just feel like the third-party opportunity is still so prevalent here right now as Kito trying to escape from Scroll. Playing with a little bit of vengeance. Sky, too. Doesn't matter who gets the shots. Both of them clearly want to get this elimination. Settle the score once and for all. I don't know if you'd consider it revenge, but either way, Sky and Scroll definitely happy. Yeah, that's a big point to defend, but for Zangi and Belusi, this is still a little bit awkward for Sky and Scroll because they could potentially be cut off here. The zone has pulled pretty far north, and so they've got a lot of time and ground to make up for. And unfortunately, teams that are already based in better positions, they might just catch them when they're a little bit closer to the outskirts of the edge zone.
Let's see if they can live up to the hype, though. I mean, we've seen Sky and Scroll play consistent, even when zones pull far. So they're going to have to prove themselves once again now when the gap has been closing more and more between first and second. I drop Marius. This is a team that's right outside of the cutoff in 22nd place. They do need a big match here. They want to make it to the Summit 1 LAN, but for that, they have to figure out the Storm Surge situation.
Doesn't have to look pretty. They just got to get it done. That's really all they're trying to defend right now is both of their namesakes. I drop Medius. A little bit of a tough position, though. They can get some good shots in here. They won't have to worry as much about that surge working against them, but Minori and Darkos, they are getting lobbied by everyone else. I drop to be able to help bring them just above that surge threshold, but they are still looking every which way to see where else they could possibly try and get some shots in. They're able to bring down Kurama. That could be a really nice refresh for this duo. Their material count doesn't look bad, but again, Takada, it's just elimination points and potentially bringing yourself one placement closer where you need to be. Darko's going to be cleared up, though, by the lobby. Not really many other options when everybody is just looking at the one solo moving by.
Wondering what happened to Vico Malabuca. It's a very good zone for them. They're 76 below, struggling on mats, rotating late into the zone. Yeah, this is just not the situation we want to see them in, especially with how good of a recent performance they just had, getting second with 12 eliminations. This is a team, they're always shooting for first place. They have experience in finals, they have experience at LANs. And the Surge, being the first major finals we've had this net Surge, is just showing how much it affects everything.
Part of the problem, though, at least for this lobby, for Vico and Malabuca, is just the fact that sometimes when you get these zone pulls, when you look to go and try and build your Surge off of set strategies, teams just aren't going to be where you'd originally kind of expected them to be at, right? Everybody's rotating a little bit differently. These big Surge bases, everybody marked so clearly from the elevation points, but Sky, Scroll, they've managed to come this far. They've made it into Wonky Land. Their build count looking a little bit scuffed here. They definitely love a fight, definitely love a refresh. Tom is going to lose focus. Caught in a little bit of that congestion now, trying to see if he can elevate his position, avoid some of the motion underneath, but Sky, Scroll, they got exactly what they were after. They're gonna take down Thomas HD, and they'll be forced to sit and wait to see what Game 11 has in store, but the Danes just continuing to extend their position on the leaderboard.
I feel bad for Thomas and Focus. You got Sky and Scroll on one side, Swizzy, Pixie on the other. Really just not what you want to see going into the zone. Still got 2 more matches. Clean it up, though. Sky and Scroll, Swizzy, Pixie, they've set themselves up. Beamish and Darm as well managed to bump themselves up to 7. But what I got my eyes on is if Chino and Pablo are going to be able to close the gap in this match.
I don't know, the way that Beamish and Darm were moving just then, it looked like they were very interested in the fight that was taking place with Reason, O'Reilly, a couple of other teams. Definitely wanting to get a bit more aggressive here. Hanging out towards that front side, but Shark, Teeny, same intentions. 889 above currently on the surge damage threshold. And with the way the zone is pulled, Iksovsky, no chance. Sent rolling down, cliff face. He'll be eaten alive by the rest of the lobby, but Vico, Malabuca, Huddy, all trapped amongst each other. Vico at least trying to see if he can net these 4 elimination points. He's got the knock. Malabuca waiting to see if he can confirm the finish, and sure enough, Vico and Malabuca, while they found some additional points here, they're still below on the surge threshold, and they're not going to have that chance to recover, at least not as a team. Vico, left by his lonesome, does bring down F9. A little bit of Siphon, going to pay huge dividends here for Vico. Big refresh on materials too, but the lobby is looking in, and it's looking to take down Vico. He doesn't get the chance to even break into that edge of zone. Cleaned up by the rest of the lobbies. Twy, Cringe, overtake now from height.
Take a quick look at what Chino's been up to. They were below going into this end game, but all it's going to take are a few good shots connecting, and it could be enough. Twy up above could be a potential very good zone for them. It pulls back over to that hill. currently sitting in 9th, but for Swizzy and Pixie, they've already proved themselves throughout the day. We were close to having a devastating kind of LAN in the sense that our global championship trio, almost all of them, could have not made it. But the job isn't done for Swizzy and Pixie yet. They are still in 16th place going into this match, despite all the solid performances. One more good one, though, could help them solidify it. But Shark and Teeny, they also are looking for the win.
They want to go up. Cheating and Giannis might have beat them to it. One fun part about whenever the zones pull into this forest territory of Old Stumpy is that players can just connect right onto the treetops themselves. And Cheating, Giannis, the overhead view currently, eagle-eye vision. They've got to make sure that they are keeping tabs on where secondary height is at, especially when it's a duo like Shark and Teeny, just waiting for the perfect time to strike. And continue targeting underneath, but they'll opt to drop a mild layer swap. Still hanging out towards front side of zone. Chino, Pablo, a little bit more of that backside position. Kind of wrapping around. I'd have the sneak jump, hunt to Mumsy, and sky jump, trying to break in. Pickaxe through, it's good. Chino gets the first. Pablo helps him get the second. Sky jump and Mumsy just never stood a chance here as they continue marking their way forward.
Perfect couple of eliminations. It was a duo that was looking healthy as well. Shark Teeny, though, it's their time to strike. Now looking for not only the height, but also a couple of eliminations alongside it. Yanis Cheatin put into panic as Cheatin is down to just a sliver of HP. Yanis left them alone as now Shark Teeny have control.
But everything is just so open-ended right now. Sky, he's gonna have to get the job done all by himself here. Currently, ultimate low, but he is just so far away from where Hyde is currently positioned. Still trying to make sure that his position isn't too heavily revealed, but it's just not good enough. Loses a big chunk of his HP. Has to use up his last couple of pizza slices even. Overdrive grenade effects at least gonna help him. But without any materials left to work with, he's got to connect with a big pump shot, and he has to find it now. At least get a little goodie bag out of Giannis's loot. But still, more problems pouring in here. Sky, only so many places left to run. Looking back now, gets cringe in the process, though. That's going to be his fourth. And the eliminations just underneath them, though. Pablo, Chino, they've scouted out this solo. Don't know if they realize that it's Sky just yet, but Sky scrambling, trying to avoid them. It doesn't matter how, when, or why, as long as he can stay alive. Just a couple placements further. Medius not gonna be brought down just yet, but Sky finally cut short there by Shakos, and that just leaves Pablo and Chino to play catch up here from Ultimate Low.
It was actually Chino who took down Skrull, so they know this is the chance to make something happen, but they cannot let it go to waste. Pablo goes down, Chino's left alone. He has more than enough loot, but the issue is, how's he gonna make it back? Swizzy, Pixie, on the other hand, both players healthy, looking to control low, but the pressure from height, it might just be too much. Pablo gets finished now. Chino has to find his rotate in.
But this is the recovery tour of a lifetime right now for Swizzy and Pixie. Chino still deep inside of the storm, but he's gonna take down Medius, waiting for that siphon to kick in. He needs it now more than ever. Stuck as a solo in the backside of the zone, and Shark and Teeny from way overhead, still applying so much pressure onto all these teams underneath. iDrop forced to just try and drop down to ultimate low here, but he might just drop straight into where Swizzy and Pixie are at. They're going for the top. Shark's gonna be the first one to the punch, though. He brings down Swizzy. Now it's just Pixie left in the solo clutch scenario, but Shark, Teeny, once they get rolling, they don't seem to stop. Pixie has height, but it's only temporary. He'll be forced to drop eventually. Teeny, Shark, though, low on materials, trying to get the chop. It's the 1 versus 2. They're looking for their second victory royale, and they find it, no problem whatsoever. It's a different day for Shark and Teeny.
It is night and day comparing to yesterday, going into today in 21st. I don't even know where they're gonna be on the leaderboard after the second win of the day. The expectations have been met. This is the Shark and Teeny that we wanted to see. Desk, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling electrified now. Tini has to have such a strong faith now in this duo, not only making it to LAN, obviously they're going to make it to LAN, but also performing on LAN. He's teamed up with the most talked about player, arguably, in Chapter 7, at least in the European side of things, Levin. And now we're getting to see Shark really perform in a final.
It is great to see these guys have the day 2 resurgence, right? We've seen a lot of players have a bit of a day 2 resurgence, but I think this one in particular will inspire people, because after day 1, I think a lot of people were looking at Shark and Tini and saying, hey, these boys, man, their chain might be fake. I don't know if we can rate them how we really been rating them this season. And today has shown that no, these guys are 2 of the most talented players. They do have the ability in some of the most difficult lobbies to deliver and to perform. And again, regardless of what happens now as far as where they end in the leaderboard, as long as they qualify for Summit, I think they will continue to remain a team that people expect to do big things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of the same as what I said for Swizzy and Pixie earlier on. The best teams come back strong on day 2. They look back at where things went wrong, particularly if they had a bad day 1. And this is a prime example of that for Shark and Tini right now. The way that they took height here was really nice as well. They were sort of sneaking up on Janice and Cheated, and they did a really nice play to sort of force them down. And once they're in this position, there's just only one way the game is ending. The way that Tini knows, he has that experience. He knows when to go down, when to stay up. He knows how to play these end game situations, and even this at the end, lovely shot. I think it was from Shark actually. Yeah, look at that. That's beautiful stuff. And I think that should get them inside of that top 5, which is very, very surprising for me, because going into this weekend, I didn't think they would do it because of their Osborne situation.
I'm wondering with this duo and some of the others we're now starting to see step up on day 2 very quickly, Levin. I'm probably wrong on this, but I feel like in the heats, obviously these duos, they're playing for consistency. Obviously it's great to get victory royale, but really what they're trying to do is just make sure they hit their benchmarks in those 5 games. Now that we have got 12 games on our hands, we're starting to see these teams adjust to a different way of playing Fortnite, and maybe that's one of the reasons that day 2 is a different side for example, the likes of Shark and Tini, Swizzy, Pixie.
I mean, there's always, in every Grands we've ever watched, there's always a big difference, I think, between how day 2 plays and how day 1 plays, as people look to adjust and learn from the mistakes of the first day.
Yeah, let's head to a break. When we come back, let's talk about some of the other big names on the leaderboard.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
2 teammates have his back. There's Snaps. Gets the drop on a Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting up Vanya. 3v1.
I got hit with that one. I'm popping med bit. Wait, short. I got 6 builds. No, maxed up.
Wait, if you're mid, wait.
100. 100. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk?
Stay there. We've got 2 more games to go today, and a lot of big name duos are indeed bouncing back. So let's take a look at the leaderboard and see where things stand before we head to game 11. And game 11 is where everything can truly change. So as you can see, Sky and Scroll are at the top, but again, their win is not secured. 42 points between them and Pablo Chino, who are having a fantastic day too. It doesn't matter where the zone goes. These guys are making it to the end games consistently. And if we take a look at Sky and Scroll, yes, they didn't have the best game again there, but what a performance from Sky Mini Miner to clutch his way to 8th.
Yeah, even in that mid-game, Kaito and Hydro caused him a few problems, but still making it here into this end game. And earlier on, I was like, maybe you'd want Scroll solo clutching based on how this weekend's gone. I'm going to eat those words. I was wrong. Sky absolutely popped off right here, doing unthinkable things, really, from what we've seen from players this weekend. I mean, he's just jumping around, finding shots, with no builds as well for most of that 11, and just unbelievable stuff from Sky. These are the sort of performances that can win you an FNCS.
Absolutely. You know, I think back to some of my favorite duo FNCS wins of previous years and chapters. I think back to Swizzy and Vanya when they won, and they won off the back of great performances, but amazing solo clutches from both Swizzy and from Vanya. I think, again, if they were to walk away here with the FNCS Championship, Sky and Scroll would be able to say the same thing. They would win, not just through their sheer consistency, but off the back of great clutches from Sky and Scroll throughout these 12 games.
And it just speaks volumes about their day yesterday. They're still in the top spot because Pablo and Chino, yes, they've had to do a bit of clutching to keep maintaining their performance in those endgames 11-2K, but they are really maintaining and almost setting the pace here now in the lobby.
They're closing the gap. Don't allow these guys to get a comeback. I'm telling you, this play right here says everything for me. Right into the box. We're going to just take the fight to your face. They win. It keeps them pushing, keeps them ticking. Again, we've been highlighting the solo clutches from the first place duo. They were the ones that forced Sky into a solo clutch situation, and then they have to do it themselves where they're squeezing out points. Again, both these teams are just playing at an unbelievable level, Mini. Chino, again, showcasing why he is such a talented player. That shot right there, the 180, just to hit the one pump to keep himself in it. This shot onto Marius as well, he did not see it coming. I mean, wow, these players are unbelievable today.
Yeah, they're a team playing with so much confidence, and it's not something that we've seen throughout the rest of the season. Now they're really turning up to 11 here for these major finals, and something that I really want to highlight and something that I think is super important. If you're a Pablo, Wingu, and Chino fan, you've got to be excited about this. If you're a Sky and Scroll fan, you've got to be a little bit wary. Is remember at the beginning of the show, we were talking about their game 3 yesterday. It was that wonky land zone. We said, yeah, that was the game when they didn't have a very good one. They got a 20th or something. We had a pretty much exact same zone right there, and look what they have done. They bounced back from that mistake that they made in that game 3 yesterday, and given pretty much the same circumstances, they get a 4th with 7 limb. So they've answered those questions we had for them at the beginning.
Oh, I just want to ask them so badly about how they prepared for everything last night and what they did with their time. But we don't have much time to even speculate about that. We've got to head to page number 2 because all eyes have to be on Swizzy and Pixie right now. They were 48th going into today. They've already scored 289 more points than they did yesterday, given that yesterday they ended on 24 points. This rise is astronomical. If they can repeat the performance of the last game 11, they're absolutely making top 10.
They ain't done yet. I'm telling you right now, they are not done yet. They're going to keep on climbing. They have found their rhythm in this lobby. They have found that understanding. They have that connection. Everybody's bigging up against Swizzy's performances. We have seen Swizzy put on all-time great performances to win FNCSs in previous years, right? We know his ability to do that. Pixie, again, showcased why. As much as maybe he would have had a forgettable day 1, he's doing enough to keep them in it, keep the story going for them. And like I said, they're not done yet. They're going to finish in that top 10 if the things keep going like this.
It almost fills with a little bit of disappointment. Sorry, Frankie. It's like, why didn't we see this yesterday? If we saw this yesterday, maybe we'd have it even closer to them at the top. It's like, why didn't they do this yesterday? But they're figuring it out now when it matters most for them on day 2. And hopefully these last 2 games will be great for them as well.
And everyone obviously wants to win a Major 1 title, but it means so much more to do it on LAN. And we know that these are 2 players that can get it done on LAN. Some players already tweeting that they've made it to Dusseldorf. But again, you cannot know what's decided until we have finished Game 12. There's still 2 more games remaining. Let's get into Game 11 with Taco and Takata.
Swizzy and Pixie have done more than just find their rhythm in day 2 of our Major 1 Grand Finals, Takata. These fellas might as well be hitting the bachata, okay? Because they are absolutely popping off, and it's so awesome to see this kind of resurgence and just them coming into form for what we know that their standard is typically at. But it's not easy to have that sort of mental bounce back. I think a lot of duos would definitely struggle when they're in that kind of position. And if anything, one thing that it does kind of remind me of is I remember, I want to say it might have been Chapter 5, but I believe Bucky Okus, when they went from 42nd to like 12th on NAC. Granted, NAC is obviously not EU, but I do think it's just cool to see duos that are able to overcome those kinds of depths.
It really is. I thought it was going to take longer to see Swizzy Pixie get to where they are now on the leaderboard, but I mean, they've solidified themselves in a great spot. The battle bus is ready. Let's head right on to Game 11.
Things are starting to get very spooky right now, though, Takata. Game 11, Major 1 Grand Finals. Only 1 lobby left to go. So if there's anything, any kind of new strategies that duos might be wanting to experiment with, this is going to be one of their last possible efforts to bring it forth. But Sky, Scroll, Chino, Pablo, what are you doing next to each other? Chino and Pablo, they want to take this for themselves. They're not leaving it up to fate. Who's going to be the first one down the hill? Sky beats them to the punch. Chino is down. Pablo is finished. Sky and Scroll win out with the surprise off-spawn contest.
Are you kidding me? We've seen this in the Invitational. We've seen this in various regions, but now to kick off 2026 in the EU FNCS Major Finals, Sky and Scroll are solidifying themselves in that first place. They do not want to let anybody shake them out of it. There was a bit of trouble in the last match, and now the second place team, Chino and Pablo, wanted to put themselves in that first place spot, but after Sky and Scroll have just won that fight, now Chino and Pablo, they are in a world of trouble.
This is our FNCS. That's all I'm thinking is running through the minds right now for Sky and Scroll. A message has been sent and delivered, stamped and confirmed. Pablo and Chino, that was going to be their best opportunity to try and close the gap. I don't think that it's going to be possible for them to run that back here in Game 12 because everything hinges upon whether or not Sky and Scroll have a dudded performance here today, Takata. And if we're basing it on this weekend, that's just not in the cards.
It's literally what has to happen, though. For Chino and Pablo, Sky and Scroll would have to go down before the end game. And like you mentioned, Taco, odds, it's not going to look like it will end up that way. Akira Karama actually switching up their strategy a little bit. They do land south of Frigid, but now they've decided to take an early rotate to Dark Dominion. They know how contested it's been. Hopefully, it doesn't mess up Swizzy and Pixie's strategy. I've just realized Swizzy did go down, though, so Pixie's left as a solo now in a 1v2.
Akira Karama, this is also different sightseeing for this duo. They've had enough of the north portion of the map. It has not been working out for them. So they're going to play surprise contest, but it's just going to help out truly indirectly. Truly taking shots now at Akira. Incredibly low on his shields, but Pixie being eliminated. At the end of the day, Swizzy and Pixie have done a lot to play catch up, but it is still so difficult to deal with those kinds of last minute surprises. Sharktini, though, Huddy and Fishy were already outside of the qualification range, and with TD and Shark being in third place to kick off match lottery number 11, It's no surprise that they look for the immediate 50-50. It is a nightmare scenario right now for Huddy and Fishy. Their hopes of land rest purely on how badly does Shark and TD want to keep them locked out of it. And Takada, it doesn't matter where Huddy Fishy try to go, Shark and Teeny are going to find them.
Yeah, they've got one thing in mind. Look, I know a first place finish is very great for the EU Major Finals, Shark Teeny being in third, but I think their priority is making sure that Huddy and Fishy do not make it to the Summit 1 Major LAN over in Dusseldorf. And so far, it's looking like it might end up that way. Huddy Fishy were 25th going into this match, and now getting eliminated off spawn by Shark and Teeny. So many big changes. We're not even in the last match of the day. Now I've got so many things going on in mind. I mean, we've got the top 20 cutoff. Some teams just on the edge there. Noah Reason, Chat Flixie, Hari Kami, Skyjump Mumsy. We also have now Chino Pablo, hoping that Sky and Scroll might go down before the end game, but if that does not happen, the gap between first and second is about to skyrocket.
Repairs in Surefour though. Kiri. A couple of love taps into repairs his shields. Still, they'll be able to look back. They don't get the opportunity to try and return the favor here. Repairs and Surefour called it at the start of the day, looking like a real dark horse contender here. I don't think many people, if anyone at all, would have really placed them into a top 5 leaderboard position. But here on day 2, they're looking to see just how much further they can really climb. Still realistic for them to possibly overtake Vico and Malabuka in that 4th place position yet again. Sky and Scroll though, man, what a start for this duo. They are so close to being our Major 1 finals champions. It's like you almost want to say it, but we still just have to see them fully flush it out. And while it is very, very likely, it's still one of those things where you never know what can go wrong next, because we've already seen teams kind of pivot their original strategies, testing out some new methods. Akira Karama is a great one to reference, because normally they've been heading a little bit south of that Frigid Fortress position, but with Vico Malabuka already had some surge issues throughout the course of today, and now they have to keep trying to figure out how to revamp their own surge strategies, losing that possible opportunity onto the French duo. Chat Flixie also kind of skirting around the mountainside.
Yep, Flixie, I'd say the best German player performance in 2025. Now they're just on the cusp of qualifying in 15th place. They have 261 points. But if they go down early, that could quickly turn around.
They're both just such competent fighters, though. Chat, Flixie, dealing with the likes of Twek and Midro. They've certainly not had the weekend that they would have wanted to, but experience is experience at the end of the day. Chap lurking around, gets the big shot to start things off. Midro made it closer than what he would like it to be, but Twek now from underneath, trying to see where he can chop break through. Flixie and Chap, though, firmly driving this fight into their favor. And Flixie, Chap, they might still just want another 4 elimination points, and they might just find it onto Tweg. Doesn't really have anywhere left to run. Cheeto count was running relatively low here. Gets a good side jump off onto Flixie. Jump shot to connect, but Chap still able to help seal the deal here. One more time, a couple of eliminations going to be confirmed. Kings of the Mountainside for right now.
Big early game for Chap and Flixie. That's what they needed. Yannis cheating. This is a duo that is a bit more comfortable. They are in the top 10, so they're in qualifying range now. Not much more to do, but they would like to obviously bump themselves up the leaderboard.
More importantly still, eager to represent their home country, home pride, right? It's Germans, knowing it's going to be Major 1 Summit LAN in Dusseldorf. That home crowd, very likely to get pretty loud for those two. So they definitely want to make sure that they leave things on a positive note. For Shark and Teeny, though, think back to where Chap and Flixie were just at. There is a possibility that later on, Shark Teeny might actually end up clashing with those two a little bit later on, since they are so far north playing for the vending machines right now, but I'll have to just wait and see. Oh, Riley and Reason, though. They've definitely had a much more volatile day, too. Even day one, gave them a run for their money. They still managed to overcome, and despite dealing with consistent off-spawns, they have managed to stay within that top 20 threshold. And obviously, you want to see two German icons in Dusseldorf repping at the LAN.
Issue is, before the previous match, they got 36th, 24th. The 7th place kind of bumped them up, but if they have another match where they don't make it into that end game, they can quickly fall short and not be in qualifying range any longer. So hopefully they don't have to take too many risks in this game.
I feel like the overall landscape of the map, though, had to change pretty drastically the moment that these players caught wind of Pablo and Chino being eliminated so early on, because that leaves Sandy Strip up for contention. So many other teams might have been able to take advantage of what's actually offered from that POI, and I think that's why we're seeing a little bit more littering throughout. Battlewood Boulevard, even teams kind of just more willing to scavenge those southern sections of the map as they make their way through. Panzer, Yapko, gliding overhead. Calm before the storm, touching down where the rest of the lobby's at.
There's a team that lands close to Chino and Pablo, but saying that they're just heading north already, we don't really know if they were able to kind of capitalize on that. One of the 3 duos opting for this rotate as well. Like you said, the calm before the storm, second to last match of the major. A lot of pressure on these players' shoulders.
They have had a decent weekend, still sitting in that 13th position, and currently with only 1 lobby left to work with here, Takata, it's pretty sensible to believe that teams that are within that top 13 should be pretty much confirmed for that Summit LAN qualification spot. But ultimately, you don't want to leave things up to chance. You don't want to be sitting on the sidelines. You want to make sure that you play out these lobbies as thoroughly as possible, because it's going to be the last 2 opportunities that all these teams get. Teeny, Shark still lingering over by Wonkyland too, so when you think about teams like Yepco Panzer opting for those deep north side, dead side rotations, you gotta keep an eye out for where Shark and Teeny are getting up to. And honestly, Shark Teeny, I mean, think about the 2 wins that they've gotten, both 100+ point games, if I'm not mistaken, right? Just based off the additional elimination, basically 100-point games each time. And hey, you never know. Pablo Chino being taken out super early on. Shark Teeny, if they go for the hat trick, things could start to get a little dangerous for who's actually going to finish in that top 2.
That's what I was thinking. You know, they've got a big smile on their face. Everything's going well. They eliminated Fishy Huddy off spawn. No, we'll have to worry about Wonkyland, and now the 2nd place team that was right above them has gone down with 0 points. It's their perfect opportunity to overthrow them. Sure Repairs, another team in that top 5. They're trying to get above Vico Malabuka. Sayaz Scary yet to show us that they have what it takes to continue with their performance from yesterday. Now dropped to 8th. These players aren't even focused on qualifying to the LAN anymore. They're focused on getting the best placement possible.
For Size and Scary, compared to yesterday, it's kind of been a day to forget. Ever since that opening blow against Azat, losing the 1v2, it's definitely seemed like it's pretty much put so much hesitancy into how much confidence they really want to invest for some of these fights. I mean, we're just not witnessing the same duo that we did in yesterday's lobbies, but still definitely respect that performance they put in, because it's left them in a position where they don't have to be too pressed over today, because at least they know they've got the Summit LAN locked in.
Looking over at what Thomas HT and Focus are up to. Thomas is known for his AR aim. It was actually Nebs. They've had such a tough day as well. Nebs and Nathan. I'm wondering if both players actually did end up going down after that. For Thomas HD and Focus, though, they are sitting in 6th place right now. Good news for them is 5th and 6th. The gap is not nearly as much as it is from 3rd to 2nd or 1st. So they have a very good chance they can at least push themselves into top 4.
Did see just then, though, that leaderboard overview. Dharma and Deemish, 7th place team, has been eliminated. They've been very key heavy in today's matches ever since they were able to pretty much confirm maintaining top 20, but hey, never want to bite off more than you can chew, especially when there's so many duos that are also still so hungry to see how many more placement points they can climb up. Learning points, learning pains, growing pains too for Darn Deemish here, but for Twy and Cringe, 51 below currently. Zone pool just outside Squibbly Shores. They're gonna be harassed now by some of these surge ticks. They've got Miro and Joshua on the other side of their builds, but can they force the engagement? Don't think they want to get up close and personal just yet. They'd rather see if they can just net a couple of tags from afar. It'd be much easier to work with than having to go for a 50-50 and risk placement against other teams. Burke will be isolated and brought down. That's a big break right now for Twy and Cringe.
I'm almost more scared for Hari and Cammy that are right beside them, considering that they're 19th right now, right by the cutoff. But for Repairs and Sure, things were looking so bright in 5th place. The damage was there, but now Repairs is left as a solo, forced to close this game out alone. No heals, no shield, and just one overdrive grenade. This is really not where you want to be.
Might have just stayed a little bit too long inside that last zone. Sure, you get the surge you were looking for, finding the elimination, but ultimately teams that are already based in just better positions, kind of keeping Repairs at bay right now. He's gonna have to wait for the rest of the lobby to move first before he can even consider trying to depart his current box position. Twy and Cringe, though, picking back up where they left off. And now there's a little bit of flow state happening here. Okay, another nice little elimination pick off there. All that matters right now is making sure that you stay above that surge threshold, but more elimination points never hurts.
No, it does not. Sky and Scroll, they've made it back now from the stressful early game that didn't really last too long. That pressure was quickly relieved. Pico Malabuka, 4th place right now. They're trying to push into the top 3. With the way Shark and Teeny are looking, though, it's going to be tough. But so far, they are looking to be managing Surge better than they have been in previous games. But you do have to be a little careful. Being on the edge of zone now, a very long rotate to go. Let's hope they can make it.
But it's Vico Malabuka, Takata. When's their victory royale going to happen? This is a duo that I'm real surprised that we haven't seen them have at least one win throughout the matches that have taken place already here today. And don't get me wrong, top 5 obviously indicates that they've had relatively strong performances when they needed to, but I want to see them fully lock in. I want to see them convert an endgame into a victory royale. And I wouldn't hate to see it, better late than never after all. But for Sky and Scroll, just another elimination added to the pile. 3 in total. 558 above now. Make that 566 for the surge threshold. But the point is, they've got more than enough to work with. They're fully aware of where Ultimate High is at. And fortunately for us, they got a little look back, see Sport for a neck. Trying to keep tabs on what's in front of him. Never know what's coming from behind. And unfortunately, that was just too much pressure to deal with. A great collapse there by Sky and Scroll.
This is not what you want to see if you're Chino and Pablo right now. Even Sharktini, if they have a big match, it's going to put them closer and closer to that 2nd place spot. That is not what Pablo and Chino want to lose. That's now 409 above, but you got to be careful. Both players instantly gone down in the blink of an eye. Shark and Teeny get eliminated by Cringe and Twy.
Shark and Teeny, they wanted to be set up for that front side of the zone, but sadly, that's just not going to go in their favor. The dangers of playing back side of zone when it pulls the opposite way is players that were a little bit late to the party being able to pick you up along the way. Hydro and Keto now taking advantage of their position on height. Good suppressive fire, good suppressive measures. Shots and dies at the shield, but at the same time here, no knocks just yet. Got a good connection to their original surge point, but Malabuka, Vico, they're gonna send it. They want front side. Mid layer, torping through. Very adamant on keeping tabs on everything surrounding them. Vico now looking for some aggression onto Nero and Joshua. They find the first. Can they get the second? They might not need it after all the content to just wait. That little bit of Cypher materials, that's exactly what they needed.
It's a big opportunity for Vico and Malabuka, though. Seeing that Sharkantini went down, it's their chance to get top 3 now. All they need is a decent match here. And for Sky and Skrull, they just want to keep expanding that gap between first and second. And if Skrull doesn't get caught off here, it looks like they're going to be able to manage it.
Keep an eye, though, on Cringe and Twy. They start scaling their way up the hill face. Sky, Skrull, if they're not careful, you never know. 4 above might disappear, and for Chapin, Flixie, Sayas, and Scary have managed to come knock in and collect. But look at Sky, Skrull. They were headed so deep into the storm. I think that they're looking for a Flowberry Mist Grenade. They're starting to tarp up. Height has no idea. They're not looking this far back into where the storm is at. Haruko and Kyurei, another duo that's hurting, but Skrull and Sky, they're willing to send it. Frontside challenge onto Height. It's just not high enough, though. And they'll be forced to drop just a little bit, but the damage might have been done. Haruko and Kyurei had the same exact intentions. Focus, Thomas now gonna throw themselves up onto the high ground. Thomas won't be able to make it just yet, but he's waiting to reconvene with Focus. High ground is being sent into absolute shambles right now. Haruko's gonna be the first one to fall from it, but Noah, Riley, Reason, they got business up top as well. Noah's gonna send it. One more overdrive grenade into the skies here, but he can't take care of Keto. Reason and Noah punished for trying to overthrow High. Keto will finally get brought down, though, and Thomas, Focus, they're looking to be the ones to actually have control. And no, it's Sky and Skrull in similar fashion, but Skrull, he's gonna be knocked. No one can get a footing here on Height.
The bouncy house of chaos. Sky now is left alone. Just a sliver of HP's gone down as well. Thomas falls. Haijo up top. They started with Height after the chaotic high ground retakes from who knows how many teams. Haijo has ended up once again looking to claim it, but Focus is doing what he can to overthrow. Haijo drops. He's out of builds. He does have the HP and shield advantage, but without any mats to play with, it's just making it that much more difficult.
But for all of those teams, we saw like 5 different duos send it. One of them got fully eliminated. The other 4 left in solo positions now. But Focus, somehow, some way, he's still up top. Medius and iDrop trying to see now if they can be the ones to truly overrule the high ground. And Focus as a solo, he'll have to give it up. He's forced to drop here. Medius trying to see what kind of refrags he can pick up after the fact. iDrop want to send it downstairs. Cringe and Twy directly behind, but they're not going to be able to escape iDrop and Medius' vision. 6 eliminations already for Medius and iDrop. They knew that they needed a big pop-off performance here today, but Focus lurking. He could play spoiler here. Twy's looking up. He's not looking next to him. Focus just needs to get the opening shot here, but he's still lurking, crouching, crawling around these front side layers. And instead, the pre-existing build, the pickaxe is going to be revealed, but he can't withstand. A different player altogether has taken him down, but Cringe does lose his duo partner. iDrop and Medius looking to bring this one home. Just one more elimination. Just another set of 4 points to go to the count. Cringe trying to see what he can manifest here, but he's stuck inside the storm. He doesn't have a whole lot left to contend with here. Medius, though, with no iDrop, he's just gonna stay inside of zone. He knows only 2 builds remain. This is the time. Medius, you've done it once before, and he does it again. A victory royale to close things in Game 11 for Medius and iDrop.
18th place is where iDrop and Marius were going into this match. They were just on the cutoff of qualifying to the Major 1 LAN, and they have now solidified a spot with the amount of points that they have just secured. I am almost sure that we will be seeing them in Dusseldorf. What a way to close out the second to last match of the day. Congratulations to iDrop and Marius. This is what we wanted to see from them. Rank 11 Mini, it's getting intense.
It really is. 100% agreed with you there, Takata. Marius and Idrot were 30th going into day 2. And they're another one of these experienced duos who understand the importance of that fantastic performance on day 2. You're not done after day 1, Minnie.
No, you're not, and it's really great to see these guys really rising up the standings. We've been talking a lot about Swizzy and Pixie today and how they've just been surging up the leaderboards, but Marius and Idrop, they've been quietly improving game in, game out, and this is really nice to see them finally pick up that well-deserved win right there. We saw it from Marius in the heat. We saw him solo clutching their way from about top 25 or something to make it here, and now still doing it in the major finals as well, getting that final shot to win 11. Really excited about these guys, and really excited to see them at LAN as well.
Yeah, I think these guys ultimately understand one key thing about Fortnite. All that matters is recency bias. As long as they end the day in a decent enough position, we can forget all the other 10, 11 games that happened. All that matters is where you end up. And the good thing for them is after that game, they will be in a much nicer position. And yeah, again, regardless of some of the troubles they have had over the course of today, all it is just learning lessons as they look to gear up for the Summit LAN, right? One of the more exciting parts of Summit LAN that I don't think we've really touched on is the fact that it's going to be like the first LAN we've ever had where the FNCS we just watched will be played on the same meta, right? And so the lessons they learn throughout this weekend will be incredibly valuable for them as they look towards the LAN.
Well, we are ready to take a short break, and when we come back, everything is on the line. It's the final game of the FNCS Europe Major 1 Finals.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
Two teammates have his back. Where's Nash? Gets the drop on Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting up Vanya. 3v1.
I got here. I'm popping in that bit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds? No, max up.
Wait, if you're mid play.
100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk?
It's okay.
Stay there.
It doesn't matter where you are watching, whether on LAN or online. Game 11 in FNCS always delivers. And there's a good reason for that, because it's time to look at the two duos at the top and see what they're going to do to assert themselves. And my word, did Sky and Scroll assert themselves, Levin.
I was jumping out of my chair. I mean, I was... one, we were sort of expecting this play to happen, right? The distance between top two and the third place team meant this was going to have to be the play at some point, whether it was game 11, whether it was game 12. We typically see this thing happen in game 12, but I understand the thinking from Chino and Pablo to go for it here in game 11. Unfortunately, they are dealing with the best duo in the world who just have no weakness in their game plan, and so they were ready for the off spawn, the perfect, both of them bunny hopping as well on the drops is just disgusting, Mini.
Yeah, that's always the risky run when you land on another team. They're going to know that drop better. They're going to know the little intricacies of that drop. They're going to know how to drop there in terms of the bus path and everything. And right there, Sky bunny hopping off of that rock got him to that weapon ahead of Chino and Pablo. And my goodness, was that aim incredible there as well. Because if it wasn't, then it would have put them in deep trouble there. Looking at the leaderboard right now, there's still a long way to go for Chino and Pablo. But I think what they'll be happy about is that Shark and Teeny didn't have a good game. So I think maybe we'll run it back. We'll see.
I mean, look, I'm sure people will be wondering if they run it back, especially, again, Sky and Scroll, they did well to make the most out of that game. Sky, able to get a couple extra points. They finished 11th. They keep that gap. I mean, the question is, what was the other version of this play, right? Because I think there will be some people who maybe would argue, instead of landing on them, maybe there's a world where you actually just loot up and you just book it, right? And just run straight at Boulevard, right? You know, especially where they can use the teleporters to maybe get there a bit quicker as well. Like, there is a world where they didn't have to straight up just land on them to sort of get the same effect they were looking for. And so, yeah, at this point now, do you just say, you know what? We actually just have nothing to lose now as far as the win goes. Let's just try again. Or do you take a different approach to it? I think maybe I'd take the different approach, especially since Sky and Scroll clearly aren't mucking about when it comes to fighting off spawn.
You can see that top three hasn't moved since game 11. And Shark and Tina, they might not have had the best game, but they have absolutely dominated on day 2 at their off spawn. I'm sure that's sure to continue into game 12, Levin.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is, this game, you probably were expecting more out of them because there was a genuine opportunity for them to maybe even catch up and steal second place away in this tournament. I'm almost glad that they didn't, because now it makes the sort of rematch between Pablo, Chino, and Sky and Scroll a possibility and more interesting. But you can't deny just how exceptional Shark and Teeny have had to be today to be in this position. Contested third place. I started at the start of the weekend talking about how one of the best performances I've ever seen contested was Queasy Swizzy Moustache last year, and they came 4th in that. And so these guys currently beating that out is unbelievable.
We're looking at 4th right now, Focus and Thomas. There are lots of memes online about him coming 2nd again. It has been difficult for them at times in terms of the zones, but it's great to see them consistently stay in this top 5, Minnie.
Yeah, really happy that these guys have been able to continue what they started yesterday. Again, the zones haven't been quite as favorable as they would have liked. We haven't really had that sort of southwest zone, barring that one that was Battlewood that wasn't really Battlewood. It was more south, wasn't it? So, it's great to see these guys popping up. It's great to see them performing. And it's going to be great to see them on LAN as well. And I think you raised a great point earlier, Levin. Of course, the meta is going to be largely the same. You have to imagine we're going to be playing on the same season. So, I think Thomas and Focus are a team that will continue to grow, and they will be a prime example of a team that will continue to develop in this meta.
And we've missed Thomas on LAN. We want to see this. We're excited to see this. We're also excited to see Scary and Sires. I think Takata is especially excited to see Scary and Sires. Their day 2 hasn't been great, but hopefully lessons have been learned as they look towards Düsseldorf.
Yeah, at the end of the day, these guys, they could not play this last game, and they should still be able to walk away from this weekend with their heads held high. Everybody doubted them. Nobody had them anywhere near the types of performances they've been able to put on today. And for that alone, I'm excited to see how this translates onto the LAN stage for these two.
Well, you know what, guys? We have waited a long time for this finals. We had to wait until spring for Major 1. We're so excited to head to LAN in Düsseldorf next month. The question is, which 20 duos from Europe are we going to see representing our region? It's time for Game 12.
Thank you, Frankie. The big question, not only which 20 duos will make it to Summit 1 LAN, who is going to end up winning? We had the off-spawn battle, Chino Pablo against Sky and Scroll. Now, I did some math. The difference between first to second place is 88 points. We've seen 100-point games. The difference between second to third is 130 points. I was thinking with the way that went, there's no way they do it again, right? Right?
Takada.
But now... I don't know,
They
Daco.
don't have much to lose. They could run
Literally.
it back. Why not? I always like to play devil's advocate in these kinds of situations because I'm looking at it from our viewer perspective. This has been an absolute showdown, and not only that, but Chino, Pablo, you really just gonna let them B-hop disgrace y'all off spawn? Take it back, run it back, see what happens. Because if there's any duo that I think could bounce back from that kind of situation in Game 11, it would be Chino and Pablo. But Game 12, ready to rumble. Let's see how it goes.
I think there's higher odds that we do get a run back versus not. It's going to be very difficult to get 130 points. But I mean, if any duo is going to do it, Shark and Teeny is the duo that would be capable of it. But we don't have to wait long. I see Sky Scroll, and I don't see Pablo Chino.
But that's fine, because there's one other thing to still keep in the back of your minds, and it's that for Sky and Scroll, while they aren't going to be contested off the immediate 50-50 for the off-spawn, there's still an opportunity for Chino and Pablo to try and cut them off elsewhere. They've been very obvious with trying to see exactly how they can, reformulate their strategies. Pablo and Chino, it's not without, it's still within their reach, but it's just going to be a very, very difficult game. They've got a lot of work cut out for them. Shark Teeny, though, Huddy Fishy, hurt, but still kicking. Shark trying to see if he can change that, though.
If Huddy Fishy somehow get like a 100-point game here and win just to qualify to the Summit 1
Plot
LAN.
armor.
that would be crazy. We know that's the last thing Shark and Teeny want. So I expect some aggression from this early game here. Question is when. Doesn't have to be quick. But with the confidence they've had, wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Shark and Teeny, though. They don't exactly want to go over aggressive with it. They want to make sure that they're just confirming the elimination of Huddy and Fishy. And already, Huddy Fishy, they have fully forfeited the arcade game position, but they're still looking to see if they can maybe try and sneak up onto Shark. Fishy, Huddy, going for a quick collapse here. Shark, though, getting the better end of the exchange, but it's going to be a turnaround instead. Shark has been brought down, solely down to Teeny, but Teeny, he doesn't have a shotgun. He's only got 2 pistols and an assault rifle, and with no shotgun against the likes of Huddy and Fishy, I don't think that there's a way for him to escape here. He's going to have to kick it into overdrive to beat this one out, and will manage to get the loot from the arcade game. Temporary bailout, but still, twin hammers versus a couple of palms. That is a daunting feat to overcome here right now for Teeny. Pablo and Chino, they find their first pair of eliminations here. 8 points added to the count. Hanging out by the vending machines. We're in the gas station, but Peshka Gold not happy with these new visitors. Teeny limping around Wonky Land. Does have a Chug Jug, but Huddy and Fishy are just so healthy. Shark and Teeny, they have done so much to prevent Huddy and Fishy at least from entering Game 12 within the top 20. But now they have to sit and wait to see whether or not Fishy and Huddy have the ultimate type of plot armor. Because if they manage to qual from this position now, Takada, knowing what they have to overcome in the leaderboard in general, just to get into qualifying range, that it's just monstrous. It would be insanity for them to actually make it at this point.
I'm looking at the calculations. They're currently 75 points away from the top 20. However, it's obviously going to increase after this last match. So it does look like they'd most likely have to end on a win. They're going to have to end on close to one of those 100-point games, win the match, good amount of elims. It's not impossible for Huddy and Fishy to qualify to the Summit 1 Major LAN, but they need an incredibly big match to close this off. But honestly, Taco, I don't know why. I think we could see it happen.
Yeah, but now what's at stake is that third place position on the leaderboard. Thomas HD and Focus, they were not far behind Huddy, or excuse me, Shark and Teeny. But Sky, Scroll, maybe wanting to repay the favor. I can recognize there's definitely a little bit of action taking place Northwest SS Studios. They won't get involved just yet. Still just going to hang around the outskirts here. But Pablo and Chino, I think they were looking for Nathan and Nebs. They might have even been fighting somebody else entirely. Either way, several other teams kind of just surrounding the area now. Everyone really looking for any little bit that they can gather in this last game, because it is the last chance. This is all that they have to try punch their ticket for that battle bus onto the Summit 1 LAN.
Yep. Final opportunity. Thomas Focus right under Sharktini on the leaderboard. They have a great opportunity to take third place from them now, but they cannot be taking these big shots in a 2v1. Because now they are going to kind of regroup, focus up a little bit here. It's going to be very hard to get second, but a third place for Thomas HD, it's nothing new.
See how this kind of kicked off here, though. Burke, gonna be the first elimination confirmed there for Focus and Thomas. That's a big part of the reason why they feel encouraged to try and see if they can pick up Zany along with it. But yeah, Zany's not gonna make it easy. He's obviously willing to make them work for it. And if they're not careful, he might even punish them pretty heavily. Last thing they want is even further delays in their loot path. But Malabuka, Vico, faded by himself, trying to escape, but good enough. Vico and Malabuka with 2 eliminations over at Frigid Fortress. And they'll be happy to collect. I was asking for that victory royale. It's always difficult to come by, but you never know with Vico and Malabuka. And you also have to remember, Vico and Malabuka definitely within that third place striking range too on the leaderboard.
100%. If Thomas HD and Focus do get third place, it's going to be Thomas's 12th third place in the major finals. Got him top 2 5 times. Living up to his history here. Gino Pablo. It looks like they're making a bit of a different rotate here, Taco.
They're looking for Sky and Scroll. That's all they're doing. They're
We
waiting
know what they want.
to see where Sky and Scroll are at, but what's crazy is that Sky and Scroll seem to have a very similar mentality. They might have been looking for Chino and Pablo, because check out where they're at. Sky and Scroll, they're nowhere near Chino and Pablo. They're kind of just stuck waiting, trying to figure out, hey, I thought these guys were supposed to be here by now. Don't they like to build surge bases around this area? But instead, all that'll present itself for their troubles might be Nero and Josh Pot off in the distance, but I don't think Chino and Pablo want to waste any more time. There's still surge that they want to keep tabs of. And yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate fizzle out here, though, for Chino and Pablo, but they're definitely trying to be proactive.
Cami, Hari, there's a team that had a very strong start yesterday. Kick off the EU major finals, but today they just haven't quite found their grasp. Currently sitting in 15th place. They are in qualifying range, but they will need a few more to confirm it. Gino Pablo continuing to play aggressive, continuing on their hunt for Sky and Scroll. Unfortunately for them, this is not the duo they're looking for, but they're able to pick up more eliminations. Nothing wrong with that.
And that's really the thing here for Pablo and Chino. If they want to play catch up with Sky and Scroll, they're going to need eliminations anyway, on top of a win.
Oh.
So Pablo just watches Dean has barely survived that initial pump shot from Chino, but still armed and ready. Chino and Pablo, they've got 3. They're looking for the 4th. Fernek trying to do what he can to delay. He's in that 23rd position, just outside of Summit Land qual range. And Pablo Chino are going to douse the flame of Dinas and Franek. That will not have the opportunity to try and represent Poland at the Germany LAN, but hey, game is game at the end of the day here at Takata. Players are doing what they can to put themselves in the best position possible.
Honestly, the last thing you want happening in the last match is having Chino Pablo keying you while they're on the hunt. Chat Flixie, there's another team. They've maintained kind of like that 14th to 17th range for a very long time today. All they got to do is close it off with a solid end here. No reason. Similar situation in 17th place. They've been consistently staying in qualifying range, but the issue is all it would take is one bad match and they can drop out. Let's hope this is not going to be that bad match.
It's too close for comfort. 17th right now has just way too many other duos that could possibly overtake, and they don't want to risk it. If they just stick true to their strengths, I'm sure they'll be able to find themselves in a position to where they're able to close out the end game and net themselves enough points to confirm their representation at Summer 1 LAN. But look at Thomas and Focus finally getting their conclusion over at Riptide. Zany has been eliminated. Zany and Berg no longer rolling in this lobby, and a little bit of a look back to see what started it off. It's just Focus, overhead pump shot. That's just, you know,
All it takes.
we've seen that a few times from Focus, that's for sure.
Nothing new. Sky up above now with Scroll and Sandy Strip. Hold on now. It's kind of funny to see a little change in locations here with Chino Pablo.
Well,
They've
in the
swapped
zones here.
POIs. Yeah, it's obvious why they're rotating over here. Just funny to see. The Sky and Scroll, I mean, all they got to do is continue what they've been doing as the day's gone on.
Ooh, Swizzy Pixie eliminated. They were in that 13th position. I do believe they should be able to stay within the qualifying range. Skyjump and Momsy, on the other hand, 20th place duos eliminated. And look at 21st and 22nd Glove Sheet Prax. So little to overcome, but it does add a huge amount of pressure here at Takata, because one misstep and it's over. And they're already so close, but for Skyjump and Momsy, their fate rests exclusively on the performance of the teams in 21st and 22nd right now.
Darkos Minori, they ended yesterday on a 3rd place with 2 eliminations. The problem is since then today, they've only had 1 match. I was going to say made it to the top 10, but they literally got 10th. The good news is it was the most recent match. So if they can replicate that here, it should be enough to solidify themselves a spot at the summit.
You say that, but they're in the same boat as Glabshi and Prux. I mean, both of these teams are at 224 points right now. They are tied, dead even for 21st. And Skyjump Mumsy, they've got a little bit of a buffer zone. It's just not one that they can feel super great about watching the remainder of this 12th lobby. Sky Scroll, though, ready to make their move. They're kind of, I think we're about to see a highlight reel performance out of Sky and Scroll here in Game 2. I really hope I don't jinx this, but they have a very comfortable position right now, overhead of 2nd place. I'm not going to call it like a victory lap by any means, but there's just a certain type of like confidence. You know, you can kind of see like the swagger in a player when it really like envelops that mentality of we are first, we are the champions, and I feel like everything is just alluding to it. The only thing that is chasing them in the rearview mirror right now is Pablo and Chino. So if either of those players go down, I think that's where we'll start to see that extra gear come into play from Sky and Scroll.
Might have forgot the Huddy Fishy script though. The 1st place final comeback. Jokes aside, I mean, it's not a joke. It is very possible. Sure and Repairs, they've been performing incredibly well until the 2 previous matches. where they just haven't been able to keep it up. Drop down out of the top 5 into 7th place. Very close behind 8th and 9th. So they are going to want a pretty decent performance here. Pablo Chino, though, they're going to need an extraordinary one. And on top of that, to take out Sky and Scroll before they start racking up placement points.
Yeah, but they've already got 4 eliminations, and they're looking to try and add some more to the count here. Chat, Flixie, Vico, Malibuca, a couple of teams kind of just stuck between each other on the edge of zone. Sky Scroll might be able to take advantage of it, but first they've got to contend with the likes of Volko and Cringe. Players not necessarily sorted out with their Surge metrics. For Vico, Malibuca, they're trying to wait things out. One more splash remains. Vico does have a few slices of pizza, but the lobby is looking inwards, and it's focusing solely on their position. The last of the materials just getting burned through so rapidly. The pressure relentless. Chat, Felixi, part of the reason why they're receiving so much of it. Malibuca, Vico, they cannot escape. 100 above now, dropping. And the constant fluctuations, it's just got to be battling on the nerves right now. But Vico, Malibuca, they are a team that can definitely hold steady, but they are going to need a refresh at this stage.
A lot of mats, a lot of heals have just been used up from that lobby focus, but it could have been worse. Neither player got knocked. They're still in zone, and focus is no longer on them. Prax Glubshi, though, they are, like we mentioned, tied right outside of that qualifying range. 262 was the cutoff going into this. It's going to get higher than that. As you can see, they're currently at 236. The good news is 407 above. They have mats. They have a loadout. They have what it takes to play this end game out. All that's left is to do it.
A little bit uneasy here now. Forchap and Flixie. Malibuca started to get a little bit more aggressive. Check out Darman Deemish, though, on the other end of things, contending with Chino and Pablo. Chino and Pablo have a whole lot of surge, but Darman Deemish, they have been rather aggressive. They don't mind going for the occasional key opportunity here, so Pablo, Chino, they'll have to keep their wits about them. Don't want to lose sight of what's just in front of them. Almost feels like their arms already extended. They're reaching out to try and grab Sky and Scroll, but their fingertips just can't connect with their shirts just yet. They've still got so much left to go. And Scroll and Sky cruising right now through the low ground. Very familiar territory for these two. They have been one with ultimate low and just made it look effortless to play through.
I guess they have been continuously kind of controlling that low route throughout the day. So, you know, Pablo Chino, they're going to have that in mind when they're looking where to play themselves. As now they have also gotten ahead on low. As Focus has to be careful. He's been cracked. Thomas on the other side of the zone trying to group up. Is going to be able to, but Glubshi has gone down. Prax is left alone. Not enough points yet to qualify a solo clutch to the Summit LAN. Is what's left for Prax here.
Skyjump and Momsy almost want to close their eyes, but it's like you got to make the cracks through your fingers. You want to see what happens to these teams that are hot on your heels for overthrowing your position for that Summit LAN qual. Pablo Chino, though, chopping at the floor right now, trying to see if they can bring Darman Deemish down, but even with the pressure from overhead and underneath, Darman Deemish managed to stay strong. At least for right now, but Chino, Pablo, they still want this. They still might be able to go for it, too. Or they might just choose to back off, look back, wait, see. Is anybody else going to run across our screens?
Well, they're trying to look for a healthy duo here, but be careful. Scroll has gone down. Sky is left alone. Now you can almost guarantee Pablo Chino are going to be happy with seeing that on the feed, as Sky is not new to these solo clutch opportunities, but Chino's also gone down. Taco, both our first and second place team are now left as solos.
But the big thing here is that it's better for Sky and Scroll. Pablo and Chino, they needed to be together. They needed to confirm as many eliminations as possible. And now the world rests upon Chino's shoulders, just watching Pablo try to bring things home for the pairing. Still, it's just so much to overcome here. And Sky, on the other end of things, in a nicely set up position, he'll be able to help bring down Cammy, but he's gonna elevate. He just wants to get overhead. Pablo having a much rougher time trying to navigate his way through this elevation shift, and Sky will take a moment to pause, a moment to breathe. Pablo, he still needs more eliminations. He needs a strong placement on top of those eliminations, and I don't know if the opportunity is going to come by him. Sky, Scroll, even if he gets eliminated here, Pablo left as a solo. The odds are just so heavily against him, and Sky, he might be able to net something more still. We saw him in the last lobby. He had 4 eliminations all by himself, and I think it's not unreasonable to believe he might be able to net another one, but Pablo has no idea. It's Sky that's underneath him. Sky gonna find a secondary elimination here already. He's gonna keep maneuvering straight towards that front side, but there is no moment to pause and think if you are Pablo. He's just gotta keep things going.
Both of these players, Pablo and Sky, they've solo clutched countless times. They are more than capable of doing it, but like you said, this is much more in favor for Sky and Scroll now already with 2 elims. Mats are running low, gonna choose to just farm as many placements as possible, but he might knock on Pablo's door. Is he gonna take the pursuit? Sky now in the zone. Pop the Flowberry missed as the shot comes through onto Minori. That's a solid refresh, but the issue is didn't get the mats. Pablo now left with 12 is gonna overdrive back in. Sky is cracked. The pressure is on.
But the problem right now for Pablo is look how far Sky's managed to come. Even with that elimination, they fall one after the other. But our Major 1 Grand Champions, it's already been decided here, Takata. Sky and Scroll have done enough. They will be wielding that Axe of Champions and headed straight for the Major 1 Summit land. It's a huge moment for them to celebrate. A couple of young Danes just really coming surely into their best of forms, but Malabuka, Vico, they don't find their victory royale here. It's Nathan and Nebs. They wanted to make sure that they wouldn't miss out on this summit land, and with this victory royale, they're guaranteed to hold on to their position.
Congratulations to Sky and Scroll, but as we just saw, this is exactly what Nathan and Nebs needed. They were so far up the leaderboard going into day 2, but then dropped down to 18. And now finally with that win, they've pushed themselves back up, solidifying a spot at the Summit 1 LAN. That's it for Taco and I in the casting booth. We have to head back over to the desk to close out the day.
Thank you so much to Taco and to Carter, and huge congratulations to your FNCS Europe Major 1 champions, Sky and Scroll. Levin, they were the favorites coming into this competition, and they showed us exactly why all weekend.
Amazing. Truly an amazing weekend for those 2 boys who have been a part of EU for years now, together as a pair. And when they burst onto the scene, you know, back in 2023, there was all these conversations about, you know, this being the future, and we're waiting to see them, you know, really solidify themselves. And they've continued to play with each other. They've continued to find success, and to see them finally have their moment, Minnie, it's taken some time, but it couldn't have come better or sweeter. What a weekend.
Consistency personified for these guys, not just this weekend. They've had one bad game really all weekend long. They've fully deserved this FNCS title, but just sticking together, sticking through it, through thick and thin. They've had great performances. They've had not so great performances in the past as well, but they've worked through it. They've worked on their mistakes. They've continued to develop, and most importantly, they've continued to develop together. And this is the result that we get to see here in Major 1 of this year. I'm sure this is only a sign of things to come as well. Look out for these guys at the Major 1 Summit and, of course, the future majors.
What's especially exciting for me seeing these guys this weekend, boys, is the fact that they're not just Mr. and Mr. Consistency. They are literally a team that can get flashy exactly when they need to. They don't take unnecessary risks. They pick up elimination after elimination, and they're not a stranger to a victory royale, Levin.
Not at all. Not at all. They haven't been throughout this weekend, and they won't be at the Major 1 Summit either. They are going to be the team to beat from EU. commiserations to Chino and Pablo. They really made it a show because, you know, even at the start of this weekend, I predicted Sky and Scroll to win, but I was saying, look, I think they're just going to run away with it, right? And if it hadn't have been for Chino and Pablo and the way they played and rising maybe above their expectations, it would have been just that, right? Because they really are the only things that are stopping it from being, you know, an absolutely ridiculous gap between Sky and Scroll and the lobby. And for that, I will always be grateful. Last year, I felt like these guys were the best trio. I know a lot of people, you know, who looked at other players and other people, but what really inspired me about these guys is just how they took the game by storm. They found success not playing how everybody else was playing. And so when we came into this year, Mini, and everybody was going, all those people who found success in, you know, the old surge and the old meta, the old way of playing competitive Fortnite, are those people gonna continue to find success in 2026? That's not been a question for Pablo and Chino, because back then they showed they could do it different, and they've continued to show that they can do it different. Last year we talked about their fragging prowess and their ability to just, you know, out-elim everybody in a lobby. This season they've showed us they can be as consistent as the most consistent team in the world in Sky and Scroll, and for that they are gonna be a team to watch out for the rest of this year.
Yeah, they have to go out here holding their heads high. I mean, they put on an absolute display of excellence this weekend. And you're right, I think it's unfortunate for them that Sky and Scroll were just that good, because this is almost an FNCS winning performance in itself. The way they were able to navigate these end games, the way they were able to sort of silence a lot of the doubters, a lot of the haters coming into this weekend. And I'm sure a lot of people would have had some very valid questions about their performances, but coming into it, when it matters most, when they have zones and when they don't have zones, they continue to deliver. And big ups to them for making it really interesting at the end, landing on them in game 11 and then trying to find them in game 12. They really made it a spectacle for us all to enjoy.
So many of these duos, especially on day 2, have made things extra exciting. Props to Focus and Thomas, and also Shark and Teeny, because these are new duos going into Chapter 7 as we revert back to duos format. And I can only be excited for the future of these duos as we move further ahead in Chapter 7, Minnie.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see. I mean, you know, there's so many names here that we had big expectations of. Even Focus, of course, Thomas, playing with Thomas as well. One of the newer players. It was one of the players that the analysts broke down on day number 1 of just like, these are some new players, some new talent that are rising through. And maybe Focus is going to be one of those players to keep looking out for in the future, because he can really hold his head high after this weekend. There was a lot of situations where Focus was the focus point of this duo. They were trying to solo clutch. And of course, Thomas went down and he held that. He was able to hold his own in those situations, Levin. So these guys can be really proud as well. I'm sure they would have liked things to have gone a lot better for them, but still a really commendable performance.
We get to watch Thomas back on LAN, and that's why I'm happy. I'm going to be smiling all the way until we get to Dusseldorf, because this man has been one of the biggest names in EU for years. He has showed us in so many finals just how impressive he can be, and the chance to see more of Focus, right? We got a glimpse of Focus at LAN, you know, in previous years. Now we get to get a full taste, a full course menu of their performances over the course of the Summit LAN. And, you know, as much as, again, they would have wanted this weekend to go better for them, I'm sure, and they would have really thought that they could have made the push to potentially win it. They're going to be in a good spot going into Summit as far as, you know, being the best Riptide team, I think, in all of Fortnite, regardless of region.
And Shark and Teeny, I'm so glad that they went from 21st on day 1 to 5th on day 2, as if there was any doubt with these guys. But these guys bring the drama, not just in terms of the elimination feed, but also they're not off-spawn mind games, Levin. I can't wait to see what happens in Dusseldorf.
They will be incredibly happy with the result of this, right? Because at the end of the day, when they realized they would be contested by Hutty and Fishy, the number 1 job was, let's make sure we qualify and let's make sure they don't. And they have achieved that. They were successful in that. And so now for Teeny and Shark, look, Minnie, I'm sure Shark, you know, going into this major would have been hoping that this could have been his crowning moment, right? Last year, he burst onto the scene, couldn't quite get a good result in an FNCS, no matter how hard he tried or who he played with. Everything looks set up for them to come into this season and really compete till the end against Sky and Scroll. And even though that didn't quite happen for them, the performance, especially on day 2, the ending result being a top 5 while contesting a very good team at Wonkyland, this is a spectacular performance and just adds to what will be an amazing career as far as resume goes for Shark and Teeny moving forward.
We've been talking about Sharks so much about the future of Fortnite. I'm so sorry. Jump back in there, Mini Miner, with your thoughts. I'm just excited to look at page 2. But Mini, please conclude on Sharkantini.
I was just going to say their highs are as good as any team in this lobby, and I'm sure will be as good as any team in the Dusseldorf Major 1 Summit lobby as well. They are a fantastic team. Lots of people had their eyes on them when they got together for this chapter, and it's like, yeah, this is a team that has so much potential. Quite unfortunate that they were actually contested here in the major finals, because who knows what things are going to change if they are going to be uncontested, but definitely ones to look out for, not just for this year, but for the future of Shark especially.
Well, let's see the other 10 duos who will be representing Europe at the Major 1 Summit in Dusseldorf. We're going to see Nebs and Nathan, an up and down day 2 for them, but so pleased with the boys from Britain. Eyedrop and Marius from 30th to 13th. Cheat and Janice holding on all weekend. And in 16th, 11, we have Swizzy and Pixie.
What a comeback. They did the job. We knew that after day 1, it was going to be an uphill battle, but they climbed that mountain, and we will get to see these 2 incredibly talented players playing on that stage in Germany. Look, let's forget about day 1, Mini. Let's sweep it under the rug. We ain't got to talk about that. We got to just look forward to what does this team look like at Dark Dominion when it comes to the LAN. Do they even decide to run it back there after their experience of day 1 and how that all played out? Who knows? Who cares? We get to see them at the LAN.
Yeah, and what I'm excited for, and particularly for these guys, is the fact that they were able to respond so well, that they're going to be able to learn now. This is almost like an extended version of the break we got between day 1 and day 2. It's going to be learning about what went wrong, learning about how they can improve, and they are one of the best teams at that, with all the experience they have, with all of the prowess that they have when it comes to a LAN environment. I expect these guys to be performing incredibly well. Like you said, forget about day 1. Did it even happen? I don't think so.
Very quick one before we head to our winners interview. Noah and Reason have also made it to Dusseldorf, so I'm hoping that German fans are going to turn up for these 2. And we are going to be so excited to see this man on the broadcast as well, because we have Sky joining us for a winners interview. Hello, Sky. First of all, congratulations. I can't hear you, and I don't know if that's my system or it's your system. Boys, can you confirm?
I can't hear him. I'd love to hear him. I'd love to hear him right now. I'm sure he has so much wisdom to give us about the glorious performance this weekend.
Sky, I think you've had such a hard fought for weekend that, the sound has been an afterthought. If you are able to get anyone to help you, that would be amazing, because we are dying to talk to you. I think it was Scroll Boys that we spoke to after the Fortnite Reload Elite series, and something that Scroll was saying about the fact that these guys, they weren't focusing anymore on Reload. They were just focusing all the way for the W. And Sky, I don't know if you could just hear me there.
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
You can hear me. We can slightly hear you. We just need production to turn you up in our ears. But after qualifying for the Reload Elite Series finals, was it really a case of just grinding now and focusing on the Major 1 performance?
Yeah, I mean, we just turned over to FNCS Major 1 and put all our time into it, and yeah, we prepared the most we could.
Sky, it's been a great year for you guys. You guys have dominated in almost every competition you've played in. Talk to me about your relationship with Scroll. Everybody wants to know. You guys have been playing with each other for so long. What does he help you to do? How does he help you, reach the heights you reach as an individual as well?
I think Scroll's a great player. He's one of the best, I feel like. And we've known each other for years now, and I would say we're best friends almost, and it just helps us when we play as well, because we kind of know what we think when we play. We know how we play, so it's so easy to just follow each other, get the refreshes, and just play the way we want to.
I want to talk about how today ended for you guys. I mean, game 11, Chino and Pablo try to land on you, try to contest you, and then game 12, they try and chase you around. What was going through your mind, both in game 11 and in game 12 there, to try and close it out?
I mean, in game 11, we had an idea they would con, but we didn't know. But yeah, we've just prepared. We've been preparing off spawns for hours during the week, and yeah, we were ready for the off spawn.
It looked like you changed your approach in Game 12 to hunt down Pablo and Chino. Can you talk about who made that call, what you decided to do there?
It was the opposite actually. We knew like when we knew we weren't gonna be conned, we knew they would like try loot up and then key us. So we decided to like completely switch up what we wanted to do and yeah, we just tried to avoid them, go around them, and yeah, we ended in Sandy.
I'm curious now who was snitching in the Danish Discord and letting you know that they might con you, Tyzer. You know, you had the intel from somewhere, clearly. Now you have, obviously, the championship. Okay, cool. I understand. But you have the championship now, right? You know, you're the champions of Europe. You're going to be representing us, and all of us will be supporting you guys and hoping you pick up the trophy there at Summit. Looking around at some of the other regions, maybe NA as well, is there anyone you're looking at? Who do you feel like is your biggest competition, you know, across the pond? Are there any teams in particular that you take inspiration from, that you look at and are really impressed with right now?
I mean, over in NA, there's like all the big teams. There's Peter, there's Clicks, there's Bolts, Acorn, Cold Rabbit. Like, just for Summit, I think there's gonna be so many teams that can be contenders to win it all.
So, Sky, just one last question. You've been playing in FNCS for a few years now. When you started out, did you imagine that not only would you be winning a title, but you'd also be a favourite going into the first LAN of the year?
I mean, no. I mean, it's a dream. It's what I've been dreaming of since I started playing. So, yeah, never been happier.
Well, the dream's not done yet. Congratulations to yourself and to Scroll. We cannot wait to see you in Düsseldorf.
Thank you very much.
And don't forget Sky SZN_ if you want to find Scroll on Sky on social media. I'm sure he's also going to be tagging Scroll in all of his celebratory posts as well. Guys, what an incredible weekend. Let's take a look at the jurors who have qualified to represent Europe at the Major One Summit in Düsseldorf. I don't know if we can say it's coming home, because normally that's only attributed to the Brits, but you know it could, because Nathan and Nebs have qualified, Levin.
Yeah, let's not get too excited. You know, I'm gonna, at the end of the day, right, when we talk about the regional pride, Europe, we're on top of the world right now. You know, after globals, you know, I don't really want to hear any other region chatting to me right now. But I think one thing that I'm very excited about, Mini, is we are sending some really good teams and some really good players to this LAN.
Oh, some really, really great teams. I mean, even looking at some of the teams that didn't have a great weekend compared to how we'd expect them to. Looking at Shark and Tini, of course, having a really, really good comeback, getting into that top 5 in the end. And of course, Swizzy and Pixie as well. These are teams that, yeah, they may have not had the greatest weekend in terms of, especially on day one, but when it comes to these LAN environments, they're going to come into a world of their own and expect big things from them. It's going to be absolute chaos as always, but it's going to be the best kind.
It really is. The PSD Bank Dome in Düsseldorf is going to be electrifying on May 30th and 31st. Don't forget to get your tickets. We cannot wait to see you there. So don't miss your opportunity. In a couple of hours' time, the North American broadcast will be here. They'll be selecting the next jurors who will be competing in Germany. So make sure you don't miss that one. Levin, hang on a second. That chin stroke, you got a prediction?
No, I'm just very excited for NA. I mean, it's been a fun watch so far. I think we've seen similar things, you know, similar parallels between EU and NA as far as certain teams maybe underperforming who we expected to do better, and other teams walking through and looking incredibly consistent.
Mini Minor, any predictions?
No predictions. All I'm going to say is, jeez Louise, Sky and Scroll, what a performance. I mean, unbelievable. I guess you could say that Sky is the limit for these guys, and they won't need to be scrolling down the leaderboard much longer.
Oh, GG, Mini. Let's get back to the lobby as we sound that horn. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, production. Thank you, teams. Thank you, commentators. We'll see you very soon in Düsseldorf.